We've got to fight against bad people. Can't let them run around scot-free. Hidden in the shadows, I was a little speechless. If I hadn't just gotten this ability today, I never would have imagined that a small fry I didn't even bother to notice had been secretly investigating me all along. I formed a hand seal and cast Bad Luck Curse on Wang Ming. Watching a layer of misfortune settle over him, I channeled my power and vanished. Even if they turned the guest house upside down, they wouldn't find anything on me. Everyone connected to me was one of my own. Who would ever talk? I found a spot to reappear and biked home. The moment I entered the alley, I felt several waves of hostility. These people were just jealous of me. They posed no threat. Otherwise, I would have sent them off to be reincarnated long ago. After gaining this ability today, I'd sensed plenty of hostility at the rolling mill too, which only strengthened my resolve to quit. Back home, Zhongli cheerfully poured tea. "Zhang, have some tea." I smiled and took it, sat down, and took a sip. She said she'd go get dinner started, and I waved her off. Tapping my fingers on the armrest, I used my mind to dial a phone. "It's me. Chun-Li from the guest house. Her whole family already has jobs, and the district still assigned her one. That's not right. With so many people out there waiting for a job, if word got out, there'd be an uproar. Fix it on your end." The next day at noon, the guest house staff were all eating in the cafeteria. Two district officials walked in and called Chun-Li outside. Everyone looked at her, wondering what was going on. I walked in from outside. "What's happening?" Chun-Li quickly said. "Director, they just showed up looking for me. I don't know what they want." One of the officials spoke up. "Director Qin, due to an earlier clerical error, a staff member entered the wrong information during worker assignments. Comrade Chun-Li doesn't actually qualify under the placement policy." Chun-Li got worked up. "What do you mean I don't qualify? You people notified me yourselves." The cafeteria immediately buzzed with gossip. "Chun-Li's been working here more than half a year, and now you're saying it was a mistake." I feigned surprise. Comrade Chun-Li is a very capable worker. Suddenly telling us she doesn't qualify puts us in a really awkward spot. "Director Qin, Chun-Li's whole family already has jobs. This is deeply unfair to families that don't have a single worker." Chun-Li shouted. "Everyone in my family has a job. Why can't I? I'm going to sue you. Sue us if you want. As of now, we're declaring your position void and adding you to the no reassignment list." "You can't do this." She turned to me. "Director, please, plead my case for me." I put on an angry face. "How can you handle things this way? Chun-Li is a rolling mill employee now. You can't just void it because you say so." Hearing this, the hostility Chun-Li had felt toward me instantly vanished, replaced by gratitude. She probably figured she'd been misled by her brother-in-law. How could such a good cadre possibly be a bad person? Just then, someone from the Rolling Mills HR department walked in. "Director Qin, the factory got a call from the district and is taking it seriously. We've decided to terminate Chun-Li. Otherwise, if word gets out, no one comes out looking good." I looked troubled. Isn't there another way? She's been working for so long. Firing her outright is just too harsh. But the district officials said, "Director Qin, we've made our announcement. The rest is up to your factory." With that, they left. Chun-Li grabbed my hand emotionally. "Director, please help me. They're bullying me." The HR guy shook his head. "Keeping you on would be a slap in the face to all the other comrades without jobs. Besides, this was the district's mistake to begin with. The factory has no choice but to let you go." A few waitresses stepped up to comfort her. I made a real effort on her behalf, but in the end had to give up helplessly. "Comrade Chun-Li, this is how it has to be for now. Go home and wait for news." Seeing me fight for her, she was overcome with guilt to think she'd wanted to report me. "Thank you, Director. I'll head home and talk it over with my family. Don't dwell on it. There'll be other chances down the road. Take care getting home." I had someone escort her to pack up her things and turn back to my office. Lucky for her, she hadn't actually done anything yet. Otherwise, it wouldn't have ended with just losing her job. As for that Wang Ming, his days ahead were going to be quite the spectacle. Perfect little entertainment for me. I kicked my feet up on the desk and happily lit a cigarette. He Jiao walked in. What was that all about? Chun-Li, her husband, and their whole family all have jobs. The district canceled her placement, and the factory just let her go. The district really dropped the ball. If they checked properly from the start, none of this would have happened. So embarrassing. Tell me about it. I smiled, but didn't tell her the truth. Meanwhile, Wang Ming hobbled out of the hospital on crutches, his brother Wang Chong supporting him and grumbling. "You're a grown man breaking your leg falling off a bike." Unbelievable. Wang Ming had just finished saying. I ran right into two groups of guys brawling, when he missed a step and tumbled straight down the stairs. People from the hospital came running out to look. Wang Chong rushed over to find his brother's injured leg wedged between the railings. Unconscious, the leg snapped clean. The crowd shook their heads. This guy has the worst luck. That leg's done for. When Chun-Li heard her brother-in-law was hurt and rushed to the hospital, the The sight of Wang Ming's condition made her clap a hand over her mouth in horror. On my end, I noticed more plainclothes officers around the streets and near my residence. After getting home, I used shadow form to slip over and check it out, catching only a snippet. All clear for now. Stay on high alert. I made a lap, but didn't hear anything specific. Still, I could tell. These people were here to protect me. Back in my study, I couldn't quite figure it out. Has someone actually come to the mainland to assassinate me? I'd only made one move over in Hong Kong. How did these people zero in on me? Talk about having nothing better to do. For the next stretch of time, I stopped wandering around, sticking to a simple routine, home to work and back. Meanwhile, in a hotel room in the capital, a group was plotting. A middle-aged Chinese man swirled his red wine and said, "The organization paid a steep price this time. We pulled 3 combat squads that had been embedded in the Dragon Nation from other factions. If we fail this time, the assassination mission gets called off for good." Someone asked, "If the organization is having the islanders do the job, why did they send us over?" The traitor from before leaked intel, and we can't be sure if the whole plan got compromised, so we're going along with it and using it to our advantage. So after the islanders make their move, won't we get exposed? There's definitely a risk. That's why we're flying out tomorrow, to make them think they misread the situation. Once they pull back, the odds of the assassination succeeding go way up. The next morning I woke up, stretched, and lay there for a bit before mentally checking in with the system. Ding. Monthly check-in successful. Congratulations, host, you've received Disguise Technique, 5 bottles of spirit-restoring pills, and 10 wisps of mana. A stream of memories flooded my mind, and a gentle wave of energy wrapped around my body. The Disguise Technique let me use mana to alter my body shape and appearance, undetectable by any instrument. Nice. I took out the pills and looked them over. 10 per bottle, and combined with what I already had, I now had 8 bottles. I stepped into the farm space, freshened up, and stood in front of the mirror. Picturing Butler Alfred in my head, I channeled my mana. My body wobbled a few times like dough, and my appearance and build completely changed. I looked exactly like Alfred. Another thought, and I morphed into Lung Yuaning. I reached out to touch, and quickly switched back. Damn, this isn't disguise, this is straight-up shape-shifting. I could turn into anyone I could picture, though I was limited to human forms. Otherwise, it really would have been full-on shape-shifting. I stepped out of the space, ate a quick breakfast, grabbed my bag, and headed out. Zhang Dan walked over with a smile. "Off to work, Zhang?" "Yeah, have fun on your own." "Okay, be safe." I biked out of the alley and noticed the plainclothes officer from before was gone. I didn't spot any on my way to work either, which put me in a good mood. Looks like it's been handled. I headed upstairs. Shen Lihua was tidying up the office and greeted me with a smile. After recovering these past few weeks, her face had regained its glow. "Is Yaya settling in at kindergarten?" "Yeah, she has a blast every day." She poured tea and set it down. Lulan knocked and came in. "Zhang, here's last month's report." Shen Lihua said goodbye and headed off to work. I looked over the report and signed it. Lulan took it. "The guest house is holding another 2,000 yuan in treasury bonds this month. If we never distribute them to the workers, won't the steel mill have something to say?" The plant had quotas to fill, but our guest house had never passed them down to employees. I took a sip of tea. "How much have we saved up now?" 16,000. I did some quick math based on the head count. From now on, add 30 yuan in treasury bonds to everyone's monthly paycheck as a bonus, and give out a full month's worth in bonds during major holidays. Lulan nodded with a smile. "Sounds good. I doubt you'll find another guest house like ours in all of Beijing. Just focus on our end. Don't worry about the rest. Right? Everyone admires you anyway." I thought of Chun-Li and chuckled. Whether or not they admired me didn't matter, as long as nobody had it out for me. The phone rang. Lulan stepped out to answer it, and came back saying, "Zhang, Director Du wants to see you." I put the thought aside, got up, and headed out. If Du Yunfei was calling me in, it had to be about procurement. Nothing else came to mind. People greeted me along the way, and I nodded back with a smile. I went upstairs to his office. The door was open, so I knocked. "Come in and have a seat." Du Yunfei got up to pour tea. "I called you in because there's going to be a reshuffle at the plant. I'm on the fence about something and wanted to talk it through with you." I sat down on the couch. "What could possibly stump you?" He handed me a cigarette. The old boss had a talk with me. 2 options. 1, get promoted to plant director. 2, take a post at the local government. What's there to think about? Go with local government, obviously. The steel mill's fine, but there's a ceiling. Government is where you can really shine. He took a deep drag. That's what I'm thinking too. It's just, I've never worked in local government. I'm not sure what I'm walking into. I nodded. I got where he was coming from. After years in industry, suddenly running a local operation would rattle anyone. I took a puff. Your concern's fair, totally different system. Did they say where and what role? Head of the industry department in North Province. Come on, What's there to hesitate about? That's a perfect fit. You can ease into the local scene, and by the time you get reassigned later, you'll already know the ropes. I smiled. It's clearly a transition role. They're giving you time to adjust. Don't waste the opportunity. He was still worried. A whole province's industry is way more complex than our plant, and I don't know North Province at all. Any chance you'd come with me? That's when it hit me why he'd really called me in. He wanted me to go with him. I waved him off. Nah, I'm planning to resign at the end of the year. Thinking about running a small business, taking it easy. He froze. Resign? Why the hell would you resign? You think running a small business is that easy? Facing the barrage of questions, I just smiled. I believe the policies are going to keep opening up, so I want to get ahead of the curve. He looked at me helplessly. Man, at your age, this far along, so many people have their eyes on you. Quitting now would be such a waste. I need to keep a low profile going forward. Some things are just hard to explain. He stared at me. Is it dangerous? I took a deep drag and said to Du Yunfei, I'm not afraid of danger. It's just a hassle. There were plainclothes officers all over my route for a while there. I don't want to be a burden on anyone. Du Yunfei stubbed out his cigarette. In that case, I won't try to talk you out of it. I'll probably head out by the end of the year. If you've got someone to recommend, get the appointment locked in before you go. Old Sun'll do fine. You know him well. Let him handle the guest house on the side. I wouldn't trust anyone else with it. Done. I'll give Old Foam and the others a heads up. He looked at me. But we've got a deal. If I run into trouble in North Province, you can't ignore my calls. No problem. Reach out anytime, and I'll get it sorted. Huh. Then I can relax. Meanwhile, on the other end, Luo Jinsong was sitting in his office, stewing. Captain, the targets have flown out. Looks like we misjudged this one. Did you check everyone they were in contact with? Yeah, all clean. Luo Jinsong furrowed his brow. Something still feels off. Are the night watch shifts set up? Yeah, we've got a team on covert standby. Good. Near Fanyuan Alley, the watchman listened intently for any sound. Around midnight, figures started slipping out from all over Beijing, all headed toward Fanyuan Alley. They expertly dodged the patrolling security officers along the way. I was sleeping soundly in bed when alarm bells suddenly went off in my head. I opened my eyes and sensed over 50 waves of killing intent a few hundred meters away. My face turned cold. Someone actually had the guts to come after me. They're asking to die. I threw on my clothes and used shadow shift to dash out. But when I spotted the plainclothes officers hidden nearby protecting me, I stopped and slipped back into the courtyard. A few dozen men had gathered at the mouth of the alley. A short guy murmured a few orders, waved his hand, and the whole group silently drew their weapons and charged into the alley. The commotion tipped off the plainclothes officers. They chambered rounds and took aim at the assassins. Freeze. Everybody down on the ground. The short one was quick on his feet. He ducked into the crowd in a flash. It's a trap. Open fire. Rat-tat-tat. The vicious gunfire jolted the entire alley awake. Residents scrambled for cover in terror. Next door, Zhang Dan bolted upright. Sure to. Sis, I'm right here. There's shooting in the alley. Don't go out. Zhang Dan threw on her clothes. Listening to the gunfire and explosions outside, she was worried sick. Brother Zhang is still home. What if something happens to him? Relax, sis. Brother Zhang will be fine. I stood in the courtyard, listening to the firefight outside. Throw the grenades. Blow them to hell. Boom. The blast rattled the windows. I hadn't expected these assassins to come so well equipped. I quickly activated Shadow Shift to go invisible. But when I saw the plainclothes officers starting to take casualties, my expression turned even colder. No, if I stayed hidden, those 10+ officers protecting me wouldn't stand a chance. I stepped back into the courtyard, dropped my invisibility, kicked off the ground, and leapt straight onto the roof. Several throwing knives materialized in my hands. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. I sprinted along the courtyard wall, both hands hurling knives nonstop. Target spotted. Take him out. Whoosh, h. The knives seemed to have eyes of their own, striking each assassin in the throat or limbs. The pressure on the plainclothes officers eased instantly. The assassins in the alley sprayed bullets at me. Not one hit its mark, and the officers picked them off cleanly instead. I bounded across the rooftops. With every step, my mind flagged any danger, and I always landed in the safest spot. The knives never ran out. Every throw found its target. My blood was on fire. Damn, this was a rush. It also showed me just how powerful my danger perception really was. This head-on combat had me hooked. In the middle of the chaos, I flicked a thought and pulled one of the assassins into my farm space. Swish, swish. 4 cold flashes shot out. The last assassin took blades to all 4 limbs and collapsed, howling. I dropped lightly to the ground. The captured assassin's memories flooded into my mind. Turned out these guys were enemy sleeper agents, and there were even some Japs mixed in. Japs. The plainclothes officers helped each other out into the open. The way they looked at me had completely changed. They'd only heard I was tough. None of them had seen it firsthand. But they just watched this whole fight play out. I was a god of death, plain and simple. The assassins on the ground were either dead from knife strikes or crippled and unable to fight back. Public security vehicles rolled in, and officers poured into the alley with guns raised. The sight of bodies everywhere sent chills through every one of them. I turned to a few of the plainclothes guys. I'm going to lay low for a bit. You handle this. Got it. I didn't lock the door. I patted Big Wong and Second Wong on the head, went back inside, and brewed a pot of tea. I replayed the whole adrenaline-soaked scene in my head. Thinking of the Japs, murderous intent surged up in me. Sons of bitches. Those bastards deserve to die. All I wanted was to live the easy life, and they had the nerve to come knocking at my door. Right then I had the urge to wipe that country off the map. Out in the alley, they started clearing bodies and bullet holes. The residents didn't dare come out, afraid of being caught up in it by mistake. Luo Jinsong arrived with his team, seeing the state of his own men. Then looking at the dozens of assassin corpses, he clapped a few of them on the shoulder with a grave expression. Captain, it was Comrade Qin Zheng who stepped in. Otherwise, not one of us would have made it. Luo Jinsong paused. Where is he? Back home. You men did well. Your brothers didn't die for nothing. Go get your wounds treated first. Yes, sir. I watched a few of them come into the courtyard. I poured out several cups of tea. Luo Jinsong and the others came in and sat down. For the first time, my face showed guilt. This is my fault. I dragged them into it. No. Protecting the people's safety is our duty. Every man who signs up is prepared to give his life at any moment. Luo Jinsong stood and gave me a bow. Thank you for stepping in. Without you, they wouldn't have made it out alive. The enemy had rolled in with over 50 men and heavy firepower. 10+ officers didn't stand a chance. He was even more furious inside. So many operatives had been hiding right here in the capital, and they hadn't uncovered them. That was on his people. I quickly steadied him. If it weren't for me, none of this would have happened. Don't blame yourself. Sooner or later, we'll dig every one of those rats out. He looked at me. This place isn't safe anymore. You need to move. I understood, and I didn't push back. Fine. Let me quit the steel mill first, then we'll set it up. Otherwise, there's no way to keep it under wraps. You're quitting? I nodded. I'll switch places after I quit. Then it won't be easy to find me. They threw this many sleeper agents at you today. They won't be able to pull off a second hit anytime soon. There's no need to quit. I shook my head. I don't want to be more trouble for you. I'll be careful. I can look after myself. I looked at him. Last time you said I could pick and choose missions. Was that for real? Luo Jinsong lit up. Of course it's real. But it's too late today. I'll come by tomorrow and go over it with you in person. All right. I'll be waiting at home tomorrow. The bodies were loaded onto trucks. Some people hauled buckets and scrubbed away the bloodstains. Others pried bullets out of the walls. Everyone worked in silence, clearly experienced. By daybreak, everything looked exactly as it had before. Zhang Dan and Shirtu snuck a peek outside. Seeing everything was calm, they hurried over to my little courtyard. Brother Zhang, are you okay? I was sitting inside drinking tea. I'm fine. Slept great last night. Shirtu looked tense. Brother Zhang, what actually happened last night? I waved him off. That's above our pay grade. Us regular folks stay out of it. I turned to Zhang Dan. I've got some things to take care of today. Take the day off. Sure. Zhang Dan didn't press it, just pulled her little brother along and left. Everyone in the alley came out, whispering about what had happened the night before. But looking at the walls, not a single bullet hole. No one could tell whether last night had been real. Gunfire, explosions, and yet not a trace on the ground. The next day, a jeep drove into the alley and pulled up outside my courtyard. Luo Jinsong stepped out with a man and a woman. I got up and went out. Big Wong, Second Wong, go play somewhere else. Woof, woof. Luo Jinsong brought the two of them inside. Comrade Qin Zheng, this is Comrade Su Zhe and Comrade Luo Tang from the Special Affairs Investigation Bureau. Hearing that department name piqued my interest. Nice to meet you. Please, have a seat. Luo Jinsong didn't sit down. They'll brief you on the confidentiality regulations next. I shouldn't be here for that. I'll wait outside. The moment he stepped out, Su Zhe opened his bag and pulled out a document. Comrade Qin Zheng, I'm Su Zhe from the Liaison Division of the Special Affairs Bureau. This is Liaison Officer Luo Tang. Here's the paperwork on your compensation and duties. I took the document and started flipping through it. Luo Tang was sizing me up, another person her age, clearly curious how someone so young could be this capable. Sent down to Amling in my teens. Had I run into some kind of master out there? The document read, the Special Affairs Bureau was a newly split-off department, created for easier management and secrecy, specifically to handle special incidents and thorny problems. Based on my abilities, I was being offered a level 5 retainer position. Retainers were ranked in 6 levels, level 1 the highest, level 6 the lowest. I could choose whether or not to accept assignments. Completing missions earned points, which could be exchanged for money and positions. A level 5 retainer got 200 yuan a month in base pay, plus stipends, roughly equivalent to a deputy department head level benefits package. I get a firearms permit and a sidearm, my own liaison officer, and I wouldn't have to clock in anywhere. Total freedom. Even if I traveled all over the country, nobody would say a word. If a mission came up and they couldn't reach me, it would just be treated as a pass. The duty was simple: loyalty. As long as I stayed loyal to the country. Once I finished reading, I found myself curious about what abilities the other retainers might have. No problem here. Suze smiled. Great. Just sign here. From here on out, Comrade Luo Tang will be your liaison officer, answering only to you. I glanced at Luo Tang. We were about the same age, and she had a sharp, spirited air about her. Kind of reminded me of Bridget Lin's Dongfang Booby. I nodded. All right. I picked up the pen and signed. Luo Tang produced 2 ID booklets. Retainer Chin, here's your work ID and firearms permit. Then she took out a pistol and a box of ammunition. For more ammo, just contact me. Any usage needs to be documented. I'll organize the reports and file them with the bureau. Without that kind of oversight, things could get messy. I picked up the pistol and looked it over. Not much use to me. Honestly, take it or leave it. Still, I pocketed it. It could be intimidating when it needed to be. The work ID even had a photo: Special Affairs Bureau, Level 5 Retainer, Qin Zheng. I tucked the IDs away. Suze stood up. Retainer Qin, my part's done. I'll head out. Liaison Officer Luo will take it from here. I turned to Luo Tang, who was still seated. Something else. She slid a card across to me. My contact number. I also need to brief you on the benefits for the other retainer levels. That piqued my interest. Actually, yeah, I've been wondering about that. Luo Tang pulled out another document. Given your clearance level, right now you're only authorized to know about Level 3 and Level 4 retainers. Level 4 gets major general level benefits, and they rank up by earning mission points. Level 3 gets lieutenant general level benefits, but reaching that tier requires more than just completing missions. You'd need to make significant contributions and earn approval from the upper leadership. That's because they have unrestricted travel privileges within the country and temporary authority to take over local jurisdictions. Now I got why she was explaining all this. It was motivation. Want those privileges? Get out there and take missions. I took a sip of tea. So among the retainers, there are people with special abilities? Luo Tang nodded. That's correct. The fact that she just came out and confirmed it meant I'd definitely get to meet some down the road. Points matter. The specifics are above my pay grade. I can only access higher tier information once your rank goes up. I set my cup down. I see. Got it. If there's nothing else, I'll head out. Contact me anytime. A flicker of intent, and my divine ability, Enslave, activated. A shimmering point of light appeared in my sea of consciousness. Enslavement successful. Sure. I'll walk you out. Luo Tang didn't notice a thing. She followed me out, waved goodbye to Luo Jinsong and the others. Once she was gone, I turned back inside, put the tea set away in my farm space, cleaned it there, then took it back out. Wonder what abilities the other retainers have. I stretched, grabbed my bag, and headed out. Big King and Second King came bounding over, nuzzling me with their heads. I laughed and gave them each a pat, then put down some food. Guard the house. Eat when you're hungry. Woof, woof. The 2 dogs pawed at me affectionately. I wheeled my bike out. Director Qin, what happened last night? That was terrifying. I brushed it off. I don't know either. Just don't talk about it. If word gets around, they'll haul us in for questioning. Won't say a thing. The folks in the Hutong all agreed to keep quiet. They weren't stupid. Whatever went down last night had clearly been big. I strolled into the office like nothing had happened. Director. Morning, Director. Up on the 2nd floor, I found Xiao ran alone in the office. Where's he, Jia and the others? Zhengji. They went to inspect the guest rooms. I nodded. All right, carry on. 2 months flew by. There were no more assassination attempts, and I didn't receive a single mission. I'd figured joining the Special Affairs Bureau would keep me busy. Turns out it was pretty laid back. Check-in. Ding. Monthly check-in complete. Congratulations, host, you've received Vocal Mimicry, Spirit Detector ×1, Mana ×10 Wisps. Another one. I grinned as a rush of memories poured into my mind. Vocal Mimicry would let me imitate other people's voices, paired perfectly with disguise skills. I stepped into the farm space to freshen up, then pulled out the Spirit Detector, identical to the last one. Sitting in the room, I turned it over in my hand and thought it through. I'll keep this one on me. Might find something. Objects with energy weren't necessarily just jade. Could be all kinds of things. No point in keeping them all staked out on Antique Street. Zhang Dan walked in beaming. Zhengji. I put the detector away, smiled, pulled her into my arms, and gave her a kiss. I'm moving before the end of the year. Want to move in with me? Zhang Dan looked at me, delighted. You'd really let me live with you? After finishing my tea, I figured the time was about right. I set out dinner for Big King and Second King, then headed out. Luo Tang pulled up right on cue in the Jeep. I locked the door and got in. Who's this senior level retainer you mentioned? I asked. A level 3 retainer. His name's Mu Qing. Everyone calls him Elder Mu. I don't know much beyond that. How many other retainers are going on this one? Just you. Plus Action Team 3 as backup. I laughed. So basically they're babysitting me, letting me tag along to see how it's done. Luo Tang smiled. You could put it that way. The Jeep drove all the way to a construction site in the East District. Public security officers had cordoned off the perimeter, and armed soldiers stood guard at the entrance. Yu Jiang was there too. When he saw me getting out, he jogged over. What are you doing here? Detachment leader, you busy day? Huh, I've got nothing on you. I clapped him on the shoulder. Old you handle security. I'm going in to take a look. A beautiful woman led me through the security cordon, and the soldiers even saluted us. Yu Jiang stood there dumbfounded. He Su, the deputy director of the Public Security Bureau, handed him a cigarette and asked, Old you, who the hell is that? Yu Jiang only said it was his former superior, and he Su knew better than to press further. I followed Luo Tang inside and saw a dozen or so action team members in mouse suits standing around a deep pit. Consultant Qin, this is Zhao Yi, leader of Team 3. Zhao Yi saluted. Greetings, Consultant Qin. Elder Mu has already gone down. We're standing guard up here. I was a little curious. Is it safe for Elder Mu to go down alone? He insisted no one accompany him. I nodded and asked Zhao Yi what was down there. He didn't hold back. There'd been a cave-in at the construction site that morning. No workers had been in this area, so there were no casualties. Later, someone heard a monstrous roar from below and got scared enough to report it. Subterranean creatures? I looked at him. Zhao Yi nodded. Long-sealed underground spaces can produce mutated creatures, spawned by prolonged exposure to underground energy. Some ancient tombs have guardian beasts kept alive for centuries or even millennia through special ancient techniques, and they're incredibly destructive. My eyes lit up. I hadn't expected such things to actually exist. I handed him a cigarette. Roar. A terrifying roar erupted from underground. It didn't sound like any beast I could name. On alert, Zhao Yi's expression turned grim. Everyone drew their weapons and locked eyes on the pit's opening. I stood off to the side smoking. Through the ground, I could see a figure in the depths fighting a creature 7 or 8 meters long. In thermal imaging, I could only make out its silhouette. It moved on 4 legs, resembling a lizard but far too big. I saw Mu Qing get knocked flying, and my eyes narrowed. Thankfully, he landed and immediately counterattacked. I stroked my chin. Wonder if he can handle it. Thinking about myself, I honestly wasn't sure either. I'd never gone up against something like that and didn't know if I could take it down. Suddenly, a peculiar surge of energy erupted. With a muffled boom, the creature collapsed motionless to the ground. That energy felt different from the mana in my body. Mu Qing leapt back up to the surface, his clothes in tatters. Zhao Yi hurried over. Elder Mu, are you alright? He waved him off. I'm fine. Haul the mutated creature back, process it, then let the archaeology team in. I watched a middle-aged man escort him away, my mind turning it over. I'd sensed a special kind of energy inside him. Not much, but different from my mana. Interesting. Zhao Yi had his men bring the thing up. Sure enough, it was a massive lizard covered in black scales. Luo Tang said, Consultant Qin, we're done here. Let's head back. On the way out, I waved goodbye to Yu Jiang. In the car, Luo Tang said, this counts as an assist mission, 20 points. I'll log it when we get back. Does this kind of thing happen often? Not really. Maybe a dozen times a year. Not bad then. Back home, I watched Luo Tang drive off, then walked into the courtyard. No one around. I activated Shadow Transformation and vanished. After circulating my mana for a few minutes, I was back at the construction site. The action team had just loaded the mutated creature into a sealed cargo truck. I phased straight through the ground. Below were stone pillars and walls. Definitely an ancient tomb. Signs of Mu Qing's fight remained on the ground, along with a pool of black liquid. Heading deeper, my spirit detector lit up. My spirits rose. Following its signal, I found a coffin. The energy source inside was a bead the size of a peanut. With a flick of thought, I stored it in my farm's warehouse. I had no interest in antiques, and there was nothing else of energetic value, so I left. Back home, I took out the bead. Ding, special energy detected. Absorb. Looked like jade but wasn't, more like a stone. Could this be what mutated that lizard? Absorb. The massive wheel appeared in my mind. Begin. The pointer slowly came to rest in the blue zone. Ding, congratulations, host. You've drawn Micro Defense Simulator x1, a product of a SciTech world. A palm-sized device materialized in the farm space. Its function, maximum protection diameter of 10 square kilometers, adjustable range, real-time defense against all incoming attacks. It could also project simulated environments to fool outsiders and any electronic surveillance. If I'd had this during that assassin attack the other day, they wouldn't have made a single ripple. I placed my hand on the screen. A beam of light scanned across it, completing the binding. From now on, activation just required a touch and a mental command to set the range. I didn't need it for now, so I stored it away. Another half-month or so flew by. I got no new missions, spending my days at home or at the office. Check-in. Ding. Check-in successful. Rewards. Spirit-restoring pills times 10, mana times 1 wisp. Feeling the mana circulating through my body, I opened the study window. A flock of little birds landed on the sill. Master, they're all friends, I called over. I chuckled and patted one on the head, scooping out a handful of rice grains to feed them. Then I grabbed one, formed a hand seal, and inscribed a rune into its mind. A tiny bird head light appeared in my sea of consciousness. I already had several hundred of these light points. My mana was abundant now. Even if I drained it, I could pop a pill and top off instantly in an emergency. Within minutes, I'd contracted over 20 birds. Off you go now, once you've eaten your fill. The little birds fluttered away chirping. A crow landed on the tree. Master, that woman you had me watch, something's happened. Her grandfather collapsed and got rushed to the hospital. She's crying right now. Keep watching her. Yes, sir. I turned it over in my head. Could I use this? But I didn't have any life-saving medicine. Even if I went, I couldn't save the man. Then again, if I did have something, I could use it to trade for that necklace. Why not play the mystic? I stroked my chin. Given her state of mind, it just might work. But what if it doesn't? I'm not about to babysit her. Got it. I remembered I knew disguise techniques. Change my appearance. If it didn't work, she'd never find me anyway. With a thought, I transformed into an old man with long hair and a white beard. I checked myself in the mirror, satisfied. Then I ducked into the farm space and changed into a long robe before heading out. Outside the emergency room hallway at 3rd Hospital, Dong Chi-Chi sat covering her face, sobbing quietly. I glanced around. No one, and stepped out of concealment. The heavens have unpredictable storms. Man has misfortunes that strike overnight. Reading your face, I can see your kin will suffer no lasting harm this time. She looked up, saw an old man with the bearing of an immortal sage, and stood up nervously. You, what do you mean? I stroked my beard, using voice mimicry to sound like an elderly master. Young lady, you lost your father and mother in childhood, and any man who marries you meets disaster. Anyone who so much as dates you invites calamity. Am I wrong? She forgot to wipe her tears and shrank back. How do you know? I gave a mysterious smile. You were destined for a happy family. It's only because you came into contact with something you shouldn't have that your fate was rewritten. If this isn't resolved, your grandfather may not be so lucky next time. She clasped her hands together. How do I fix it? Take off the necklace around your neck. The moment she heard necklace, she instinctively reached up to shield it. What are you trying to do? That's the source of your bad luck, ma'am. Frightened, she pulled the necklace out. Is that really the reason? My grandma passed this down to me. The pendant was an animal tooth that looked like a black gemstone. I took it from her. Ding. Special energy detected. Absorb. I watched the wisps of black mist occasionally seeping from the tooth and shook my head. Turns out I'd stumbled onto it by accident. That black mist was pure misfortune, laced with other malignant energies. Useless to me. My internal magic expelled it instantly. Seeing me shake my head, she got nervous. Well, what is it? This pendant is constantly giving off bad luck and misfortune. You've been wearing it nonstop, so it's all seeped into your body. No wonder you can't catch a break. Really? Then what should I do? If you're willing to part with it, give it to me. Within 3 years, all the bad luck on you will fade. She stared at the pendant, reluctant. Isn't there another way? This is the only thing my grandma left me. I handed it back to her. Your fate with it has run its course. You're on your own now. Just as she reached out to take it, my words made her pull back. Her face twisted with indecision. I shook my head, set the necklace on the chair, and turned to face shift out of there. The thing wasn't going anywhere as long as it was still on her. I'd just come back and grab it once she'd finished dooming herself. Wait, she cried out. I'll do it. I flicked my sleeve, activated my shadow shift, and vanished. Her eyes went wide, scanning everywhere. She stared at the spot where I'd disappeared for a long moment, confirmed the ground was solid, and her face went pale. I actually drove off an immortal. What am I going to do? She turned toward the chair, and her expression changed again. She rushed over to check. The necklace was gone. Instantly, her face lit up. So the old immortal wasn't mad after all. She pressed her palms together and started bowing repeatedly. The ER door opened, and the doctor stepped out. She hurried over. How's my grandpa? He's out of danger. He'll wake up shortly. Thank God. Now she was even more convinced of what I'd told her. Thinking about her bad luck fading within 3 years, she almost felt excited. I watched the whole thing from the shadows, the corner of my mouth curling up. Then I channeled my magic and disappeared. Back home, I saw Zhang Dan tidying up in the yard. I rematerialized by the river and strolled back. Zhang, you're back. It's pretty hot out. Don't worry about the cleaning. She wiped the sweat from her brow. I'll head inside as soon as I'm done. Go on in and cool off. All right, just a quick tidy is fine. I went inside, brewed a cup of tea in the study, took out the necklace, and studied it. What kind of tooth is this? Carrying misfortune like that. Whatever. Absorb it. The tooth vanished, and that massive wheel appeared in my mind again. Start. After a few minutes of spinning, I called stop. The needle slowed down and landed in the gold zone. Please don't be another useless piece of junk. Ding. Congratulations, host. You've drawn Spirit Realm's special race talent, Sonar Imaging. Before I could even react, a gentle energy flowed into my mind. I felt my brain being enhanced, followed by my hearing. Images floated into my head. First my house, then spreading outward. Big King and Second King, Zhang Dan, the birds in the trees, the bugs and ants in the soil, the neighbors in the big compound next door. Every single one appeared. Not their actual faces, but outlines, recognizable to anyone who knew them. It was like I had a god's eye view. Everything within a 500-meter radius was mapped inside my head. I could see what everyone was doing, and even hushed whispers came through crystal clear. Incredible. Absolutely incredible. As long as it was within 500 meters of me, no sound could escape my ears. My brain had been upgraded into something like a processor, effortlessly processing everything and feeding it to me. I glanced back. Zhang Dan was still cleaning. With a single thought, I vanished. I passed through the wall to the neighboring courtyard, entered a house in the back, and went straight down through the floor. 1 meter below was a corridor. About 10 meters in, there was a sealed door. I passed through it into a hidden chamber. Inside sat 30 sealed wooden crates. I could sense the gold and antiques inside and swept them all into my storage. 30 crates total, 10 of them gold bars, the rest antiques, paintings, and calligraphy. I returned to the study, picked up my teacup, took a sip, and couldn't hide the grin on my face. As long as there were cracks underground for sound waves to travel through, I could generate an image of the underground structure. This talent was insane. Weren't all the treasures buried beneath basically mine now? Sure, anything completely sealed off was beyond my reach, but not everything is hidden that well. Just as I was thinking that, the phone rang. I got up to answer. Who's this? Xiaoqin, my departure's been moved up. I perked up. Did they give you a specific date? The handover has to be done by the end of next month at the latest. Got it. I'll turn in my resignation letter today. You sure you've thought this through? Made up my mind a while ago. I hung up and headed back to the study. Time to start figuring out the housing situation. Sending my consciousness into the storage, I checked. 2,000 square meters had been signed in for a storefront, 800 square meters for a residence. Decent size, but where should I generate it? Building area can be consolidated. I'd already asked the system about that. 800 square meters was plenty for me. System, can I pay extra to upgrade to a house with a big garden? Ding, the square footage from check-in refers to building area only, not the total property size. I scratched my head and it clicked. You mean an 800 square meter house doesn't mean the property is 800 square meters? Got it. With a mental command, I placed the house right behind my storefront on Antique Street. An invisible wave of energy swept across the capital. On the empty lot behind Tingzheng Pavilion, a traditional-style courtyard house materialized out of thin air. The image of the property appeared in my mind. The front courtyard had rooms and a garden, and behind the house was another large garden, fair-sized, all enclosed by walls, with the little river of Antique Street just outside. Water, electricity, and heating were fully installed. Every room was designed as a 2-story layout, fully furnished, decor and all. I fell in love with it at first sight and moved right in. 15 rooms total, more than enough for me. I picked up a pen, wrote out a resignation letter, tucked it in my bag, and headed out. Xiao Dan, something's come up at work. I need to head over there. Okay. I gave her cheek a pinch. I've got the new place all set up. Pack your things. Once Stone gets back tonight, we're moving. Zhang Dan's eyes lit up. We're moving today? Yep, today. Yes, she beamed with excitement. I smiled, wheeled my bike out, and headed out of the yard. At the steel mill, in Du Yunfei's office. He brewed a cup of tea and set it down. There's a problem with the Industrial Bureau chief up in North Province. I need to get there ASAP. Any delay, and things could go sideways. I set down my resignation letter. Leaving early works for me. If anything comes up down the road, just give me a call. Sure. I already squared it with old phone. Little son's taking over for you. You two can handle the handoff. News of my resignation blew up across the factory. Everyone had been betting on when this young logistics director would get bumped up to deputy plant manager, then plant manager. And here I was, just walking out the door. Half of them couldn't even wrap their heads around it. The guest house staff were especially anxious, worried a new guy would leave their future hanging. I didn't pay any of the gossip any mind. By that point, I'd already moved into the new place. The setting here was a huge upgrade. Open space out front, plenty of room to park. Step through the courtyard gate and you had the gatehouse and a few storage rooms on one side, plus the east and west wings and the main house. 15 rooms in all, every one of them 2 stories. The wings had a living room, bedroom, and bathroom on the ground floor, with 2 en-suite bedrooms upstairs. The 5 rooms of the main house were also 2-story. A grand hall, side parlor, study, and lounge downstairs, with 3 bedrooms upstairs much larger than the ones in the wings, plus a tea room and a rec room. The front courtyard had a little garden, nice spot to sit and sip tea. But the back was where things really opened up. A 30-moo garden with rockeries, pavilions, ponds, and rare flowers and plants, all laid out beautifully. More than I could take in at once. I sat in the back garden pavilion sipping tea, picturing Zhang Dan and Lu Tong tidying up the place. It was a great spot, but with this many rooms, cleaning would eat up all their time, especially the huge garden. It'd take a whole crew working every day just to keep up. If I dumped it all on Zhang Dan and the others, they'd never get a minute's rest. I got up, left the pavilion, and headed toward the front courtyard. Out the front gate, I left Big Wong and the others to guard the place, and made my way to the shop out front. Afu jumped to his feet. "Boss, you're here." I sat down. "Find a few quick, capable women. Hire them to keep the house in order, especially that garden out back. Needs daily upkeep. Easy to find people these days. I'll go take care of it now. Bring 1 back each day, 7 total. Don't bring them all in at once. I'll bring the first one now." I sat in the room, tuning into what was going on around me. Ever since I'd gotten this sonic imaging ability, I'd gotten used to listening in on my surroundings, especially at night. Catch something interesting, get a little entertainment out of it. That constant awareness of what was happening around me was addictive and slowly filling in the gaps in my not-so-great sense of security. Before long, Afu came back with a woman in her 30s. "Boss, this is Lu Guixiang. She lives just down the alley. Real hard worker. Takes on jobs from the neighborhood committee all the time." Then Afu sent me a mental message. "Boss, she's still a virgin. Bad family background back in the day kept her from getting married, and by the time things eased up, her parents were old and sickly, so no one wanted to take her on." Lu Guixiang looked a little nervous, watching me stiffly. I gave her a look over. Neat, pretty, and even under those loose clothes, I could tell she had a good figure. Afu really got me. I smiled warmly. "Sister Lu, I live out back. The house needs cleaning. If you're up for it, it's 50 yuan a month. Whatever I eat, you eat. And you can take a portion home for your folks." Hearing wages that high plus meals, she nodded eagerly. I'll do it. Thank you, boss. I'll keep the whole place spotless." I pulled out 50 yuan. "I pay in advance. Take it. Let me show you around." The moment she took the money, I triggered a thought. Divine skill. Enslavement. Activated. A point of light appeared in my sea of consciousness, and I got the confirmation that the enslavement had taken hold. Only then did I feel comfortable bringing her home. Over the next few days, Afu brought back a woman every day, some widowed, some single. Without exception, every one of them met the mark in looks and figure. A week later, my place was buzzing. 7 housekeepers handled the work, and Zhang Dan and the others didn't have to grind away all day anymore. After breakfast, I went to the study to brew some tea and pulled out a compact little device, the micro defense simulator I'd won in a lottery drawing. I placed my hand on it to activate it, and a graphic popped up in my mind. I marked out the house and back garden, then set up a virtual projection in the air. From the outside, you'd see fake people going about their business in the courtyard, but whatever was actually happening inside would be completely invisible. I tucked the device away on a bookshelf where no one could easily bump into it. Once that was done, I mentally linked with the system to check in. Ding, monthly check-in complete. Congratulations, host, you have received Spirit Attachment Technique, Premium Healing Pill Recipe, Mana times 10 wisps. Memories poured into my head. The Spirit Attachment Technique had me lit up. All I needed was an ornament, say a stone lion, and I could cast the technique to bring it to life and attack a target. Especially devastating against evil spirits. And it wasn't just stone lions. Any carved figure of a creature would work. As long as I had enough mana, I could even activate a dragon statue and unleash a divine dragon on my enemies. Single use, disposable. The premium healing pill worked fast on both internal and external injuries, replenishing chi and restoring vitality, a real lifesaver. Finally, a proper medicinal pill in my arsenal. The primary ingredient was wild ginseng aged 100 years or more, plus other rare herbs. I looked over the recipe, then checked the farm storehouse. Good thing I'd scored a haul off those Japanese back in the day, or I wouldn't have had enough to work with. I fed the recipe into the farm system, and the herbs got sorted and processed automatically. Yu Xingji came in with a plate of fruit. "Boss, have some fruit." I pulled my mind back and nodded with a smile. "Sure." Send some over to the shop too. Already done. I caught a glimpse down her collar and couldn't help reaching over for a little squeeze. BOSS. Ha, go on, get back to work. She shot me a coy look and turned away, cheeks flushed. I watched her walk off with a smile. This woman was in her 30s. Her husband had died in an accident right after they'd gotten married. No kids, never remarried, spent all her time looking after her in-laws. After her father-in-law passed, it was just her and her mother-in-law scraping by. She was gorgeous, with this natural sultry air, and paired with her age, she had a pull over men that was something else. Ring, ring, ring. The phone went off again. I picked up. Who's this? Xiaoqin, it's me. Well, hey, Professor Chen. What can I do for you today? I called the steel mill and only then found out you'd quit. Had to work them for a while just to get your number. Ah, my bad. Forgot to leave it with you last time. Xiaoqin, why the sudden resignation? You thinking of jumping into business too? More or less. Answering the call from up top, you know? You're still too young. I steered away from the subject. Professor Chen, there's a reason you're calling, right? Right. Almost forgot the main thing. I'm taking a few students with the Archaeology Bureau to do some field work on the Mongolian grasslands. I was going to ask if you wanted to tag along. Now that you've quit your job, this is perfect timing. The trip will take about a month or so. I'll get you a 300 yuan stipend approved. Consider it a chance to clear your head. We'll have soldiers with us too. I could tell he genuinely wanted me to get out for a bit. Sure, I've actually never been out there. I'll come along and broaden my horizons. Forget the stipend though. Glad you're in. The stipend's yours, you've earned it. We leave in 3 days, on the 9 a.m. train. Meet us at the station. Got it, see you then. I hung up with a smile. A trip to the grasslands sounded great. Sitting around the house all day was getting old. Ring, ring, ring. The phone went off again. Who's this? Consultant Qin, there's an assignment out to the grasslands, about a month and a half. Are you in? I paused. I'd just agreed to go with Chun Shuyuan, and now this assignment lands in my lap. Do you know who I'd be going with? With the Capital Archaeology Bureau. They've got a dig planned, and there are 2 senior professors on the team. Higher-ups decided to send a consultant along for security. That got a chuckle out of me. Turns out it was the same trip. Professor Chen Shuyuan from the Capital University Archaeology Department already reached out. He invited me to come along, and I said yes. Does he know your position? I don't think so. We knew each other from before. He heard I'd quit, so he invited me along for the trip. I see. Then that makes things easy. I'll report back to the bureau. I hung up and popped a grape into my mouth. Wonder if there'll be any of those things in the tomb this time. At lunch, I brought up the trip to Mongolia. Zhang Dan smiled. It'll be good for you to get out. Otherwise, you're always cooped up at home. We're afraid you'll start losing it. I pinched her cheek. I'm not going to lose it. And if I ever do, I'll just take it out on you girls. You're the worst. Zhang Dan blushed furiously. Lu Tong laughed softly. The sky is blue, the plains are vast, the wind bends the grass and reveals cattle and sheep. It must be beautiful out there. Once traveling gets easier, I'll take you both out there. This time I'm just scouting ahead. Yay. After lunch, I wandered out to the pavilion in the courtyard. Lu Guoxiang came in carrying a lunch pail. Boss. I nodded. Your parents doing all right? They're doing great. They're eating well now, and their spirits are up. She was beaming. Working here was the best thing that had ever happened to her. She ate better every day than most people did on New Year's, and the pay was excellent on top of that. Good to hear. Go get some rest. Okay, just holler if you need anything. I stretched out on the bench and closed my eyes. When Big King and Second King saw me resting, they curled up nearby to stand guard. Check in. Ding. Check-in successful. Reward. Spirit restoration pills times 10, mana times 1 wisp dot. Not bad. The more, the merrier. Pleased, I stashed the pills in my storage with the rest. I'd already stockpiled 15 bottles, 150 pills total. Zheng, all your bags are ready. All right, I'm heading out. If anything comes up, go find Ah Fu. Got it. Stay safe on the road. Yeah, once you get there, don't go wandering off on your own. I laughed and kissed each of them on the forehead. I'm off. I grabbed a backpack nearly as tall as I was and headed out. Military-grade gear Luo Tang had sent over. Ah Fu was standing by the roadside. Boss, safe travels. Thanks. I climbed into the waiting pedicab. Train station. You got it. The driver pushed off with a hard stomp on the pedal. At the train station, Chun Shuyuan and 3 of his students were already there. A middle-aged man walked up. Old Chun, just the 4 of you? Chun Shuyuan stepped forward with a smile. Oldly, you got here early. 1 more's on the way. Should be here any minute. I got out of the pedicab. Professor Chen, sorry I'm late. You're not late at all. Xiaoqin, let me introduce you. This is Professor Li Chongshan from the Archaeology Bureau. Just call him Elderly. Oldly, this is Qin Zheng, an excellent young man. Nice to meet you, Elderly. Li Chongshan nodded with a smile. Sharp-looking young man. Then he waved everyone toward the station. I glanced over Chun Shuyuan's students. a middle-aged man and a young couple who were clearly still in school. Lu Hai wasn't among them. I'd been half wondering whether I'd run into Lu Tong's brother, Lu Hai. Good. This saved me the trouble. If I had, I would have felt obligated to look after him. The archaeology team had 12 people, 9 men, 3 women. One of the women was strikingly pretty, which honestly surprised me. Fieldwork usually meant rough conditions. Going 10 days, half a month, without a shower wasn't unusual. The prettier a woman was, the more she tended to guard her appearance. But here was one who clearly didn't shy away from the grit. The archaeology team had booked sleeper cars. Everyone boarded and split up between 3 compartments. I tossed my bag onto the bunk. Professor Chen, where exactly are we headed? Chen Shuyuan sat down on the bunk. Sarala Banner. The train gets in tomorrow afternoon. Someone will pick us up from there. The female student asked, are we going out in the wild or into town? Out in the wild, but not far from where the herders graze their flocks. That's great, being near the herders. I hear they eat mutton every day out there. My taste buds are in for a treat. I pulled out my tea leaves, borrowed a mug from Chun Shuyuan, and headed out for hot water. There was a water attendant in the corridor reading a newspaper. Comrade, some hot water please. Pour it yourself. I didn't bother reacting to his attitude. I filled both mugs and brought them back. Chun Shuyuan took his. Oldly wants to go over the plan. You guys get some rest. If anything comes up, I'm next door. Sure thing. I sat on the bunk and sipped my tea. It was obvious from the way the archaeology crew looked at me. The words connections higher were written all over their faces. Well, if they didn't think much of me, I wasn't about to waste my energy trying to win them over. I sent my consciousness into the farm space. My top-grade healing pills were coming out perfectly now. I bottled them up in the vials I'd bought ahead of time. 100-year ginseng root yielded 100 pills. I did the math. A flawless 100-year wild ginseng root, like the one I'd use, could sell for anywhere from tens of thousands to over 100 grand these days. Mine was in perfect condition, easily worth 120,000. Add in the supporting ingredients, and the 100 pills were worth roughly 140,000. That's 1,400 apiece. In this day and age, a single pill was worth 2 or 3 years of the average person's salary. Who could afford that? And that's just today's prices. 10 years from now, a 100-year ginseng root will go for over $1 million, and one pill will run you 10 or 20 grand. Hope the effects live up to the investment. I glanced at the ginseng and medicinal herbs growing in the farm and felt reassured. I still had plenty of raw materials on hand. Once these ran out, I'd have no shortage of premium goods anyway. Hearing a commotion from the next car over, I set down my mug and stepped out, walking through the sleeper section into the adjoining car. Unlike the sleeper car, this one was in complete chaos. Has anyone seen my child? A woman was crying out. Please, someone help me. I just dozed off for a moment, and he was gone. Some passengers ran off to fetch the conductor. I walked over. Comrade, when did you fall asleep? How long were you out? The woman grabbed my hand like it was her last lifeline. Sir, please, I only dozed off for maybe 15 minutes. Please, you've got to help me find my child. Calm down. You can't find anything holding on to me like this. I pulled my hand back and glanced around. The train hadn't stopped, which meant the kid was still on board. I headed toward the front of the train. I'd just come from the back, so the kid definitely wasn't that way. Had to be up ahead. I pictured the layout of the forward cars in my head, sidestepped past the railway cop, and kept moving. 2 cars up, I spotted something. A middle-aged man carrying a burlap sack was crouched by the door at the car connector, waiting for the next stop to get off. I leaned against the wall and lit a cigarette, quietly scanning the area to figure out how many accomplices he had. 1, 2. 2 nearby. No telling if there were more in other cars. I watched the railway cops working their way through the passengers and gave one of them a subtle wave. Boss, over there. The younger cop nudged his mentor, who looked over at me. Go check it out. Once I saw the cop heading over, I stubbed out my cigarette and brought down a chop with the edge of my hand. The crouching guy dropped instantly. Everyone around jumped. Hey, what the hell are you doing? One accomplice sprang up, hand reaching for his waist. I didn't give him the chance. I grabbed his collar and struck him at the neck. The other one pulled a knife and lunged. I planted a kick square in his chest. The force sent him rolling, eyes rolled back, out cold. The railway cop ran up and started to draw his gun. Freeze. I pointed at the sack on the floor. There's a missing kid in there. These 3 are working together. A kid. The cop froze for a second. The senior officer signaled his junior to stand guard, then went over and opened the sack. Sure enough, a sleeping child was inside. He scooped the kid up right away. There really is a child in here. Only then did the crowd catch on. This young comrade is something else. Never would have guessed these guys were traffickers. How'd he know the kid was in the sack? I saw him just standing there smoking. Guess he'd figured it out early. In the dining car, the conductor gripped my hand and thanked me over and over. If it weren't for you, I honestly don't know how we'd have faced the boy's mother. The senior cop asked from beside him. How do you know there was a child in that sack? I smiled. Traffickers who snatch a kid are going to want off the train fast, so I focused on people near the doors. Ah, that makes sense. Your instincts are sharp. If you'd been wrong, though, that could have been trouble. Good thing I wasn't. If there's nothing else, I'll be on my way. Comrade, at least leave us your work unit or address. We'd like to file a commendation. I waved him off. Not necessary. Anyone would have done the same. Still, we'd like to have it on record. The old cop's eyes had a searching look now. I gave him a helpless smile. 1 minute you're praising me, the next you're interrogating me. Gotta hand it to you. You've got sharp instincts. I handed over my ID. The moment he saw the cover, his face straightened. He flipped it open, glanced inside, and immediately snapped to a salute. Sir. Everyone else was stunned. How could a superior officer be this young? But they could tell this was no joke, and one by one they saluted too. I returned the salute. At ease. Keep it to yourselves. I'm heading back. Take care, sir. I felt a little smug inside. Never expected to get called sir like that. Back at the steel mill, I'd only been a deputy division-level supervisor, several rungs below this title. Joining the Special Affairs Bureau really was the right call. Back in my compartment, everyone else was reading. I grabbed my tea mug, stepped out to refill it, and came back to keep drinking. I'm immune to poisons, so I wasn't worried about that. It's just the idea that grosses me out. What if someone slipped something in? Would have been perfect if I'd run into something with special energy back there. Around noon, everyone headed to the dining car for lunch. After you, sir. Chun Shuyuan and the others watched in astonishment. Even the ones who'd previously looked down on me now had nothing but shock in their eyes. I've got it, thanks. Chun Shuyuan sat down and looked at me curiously. Xiaoqin, didn't you resign? How'd you suddenly become a superior officer? Li Chongshan looked equally baffled. Yeah, I never heard about a new officer this young being appointed. I kept eating. It's just a nominal title. These guys didn't know the actual rank. They thought I was some big shot. Sounded nice, so I didn't correct them. Chun Shuyuan cracked up. You've got some nerve, kid. Li Chongshan laughed too. Young guys, everyone's got a little vanity. The rest of the archaeology team didn't know what they were laughing about, but they sure were curious about me. Good looking to start with, and now I had this air of mystery. Even Hu Wei, the team's beauty, started paying attention. The rest of the trip was uneventful, and by the next day we'd safely arrived in Tatar City, Mongolia province. 2 trucks and a jeep were waiting outside the station. The moment Li Chongshan and the others stepped off, the local archaeology bureau folks swarmed them, chatting warmly. I looked around, breathed in the cool breeze, and felt refreshed head to toe. It was way cooler here than in the capital. The sun was just as hot, but the second you stepped into the shade, a crisp breeze rolled through. Once they wrapped up, I followed the group out and climbed into a truck. The road grew more remote, and the vast grasslands opened up before us. The grass bent low under the wind, and you could just make out flocks of sheep hidden in it. When the wind bends the grass low, the cattle and sheep appear. That line came to life right in front of my eyes. Everyone gazed out at the plains and started singing cheerfully. Comrade Xinzheng, have you been here before? I turned. It was Hu Wei, the prettiest one on the team. Oh no, first time. It's beautiful out here. I actually spent time in the countryside here, back in the day. That caught my interest. You did rural service? Hu Wei smiled. That's surprising. It was over 10 years ago. Never thought I'd get to come back and see it again. It feels really good. They up to the mountains, down to the countryside movement had started back in the 50s. She was in her early 30s, so the timing lined up. Back then it was voluntary. She'd gone, which meant she'd chosen to. That took guts. Don't underestimate us women. She pointed at a yurt. When we went, we lived with the herders and worked alongside them. We talked for a bit, then fell silent. The truck engine was too loud. You had to practically shout, and the road kept getting bumpier. Not exactly the place for a chat. The truck rumbled on for over 3 hours before we finally spotted a cluster of tents, with armed soldiers standing guard. Chun Shuyuan climbed out of the jeep, hunched over. Man, I'm really getting old. Li Chongshan chuckled. Never mind you. Even the young folks had a rough trip getting out here. Professor Li, Professor Chun, the tents are all set up. Why don't you rest for a bit? We've got a lamb on the spit. We're throwing a welcome dinner for you tonight. Sounds good. We could definitely use a break. 4 or 5 people to a tent. The local archaeology bureau had already sorted out the assignments. I didn't mind the rough conditions. I dropped off my bags and wandered around outside. We were still a few miles from where the archaeology team was actually working. Someone was roasting lamb by the campfire, and the smell drifted through the air, drawing everyone out of their tents to take a look. You'd never see this back in the capital. A captain walked up to me and saluted. Guan Yu, commander of the Sharp Blade Company, reporting for duty. Awaiting your orders, sir. I returned the salute. At ease. You know who I am. My superiors briefed me before I came. I'm to follow your orders, sir. I nodded. All right. Stick to your plan going forward. I'll take over if anything unusual comes up. Yes, sir. I've reserved a private tent for you. Would you like me to grab your bag? Hearing I had my own tent, I smiled and nodded. Sure. It's just one bag. Take it over for me. Yes, sir. Hu Wei caught the whole exchange, and the way she looked at me completely changed. She'd figured out I wasn't just some guy on a temporary assignment. The other team members noticed too. If even a military officer was showing me this much respect, this young guy clearly had some serious background. Li Chongshan took a sip of tea. Old Chun, this young Qin isn't your average kid. Chun Shuyuan smiled. He used to be the logistics director at the rolling mill. Quit out of nowhere a while back. I figured he was going into business, but looks like there's more to the story. Logistics director that young. The kid's clearly got skills. You bet. Old Lu from the Heilongjiang Archaeology Bureau went on a dig up in the Anling Range a few years back. Qin was doing a stint of rural reassignment then, guarding the mountain all by himself. Chun Shuyuan started telling the story. Just then, I spotted a girl on horseback herding sheep, cracking her whip with real flair. I gave her more than a passing glance, mostly because she was pretty easy on the eyes. Hu Wei came over. What are you looking at? Nothing. Just taking in the scenery. The girl was pretty far off. She couldn't see me, but my eyesight had no trouble picking her out. I watched as she rode toward us, and suddenly I felt like getting on a horse myself. Whoa. She reined in her horse just outside the camp. The soldier on watch called out. Aruna, bringing us more sheep? Humph. You just got one and you're already asking for more. You guys are shameless. Huh. Well, your sheep are just that good. I looked her over. Her tanned arms were bare, but her loose clothing hid her figure. Hu Wei glanced at me. What are you staring at? Oh, checking out the girl, huh? I'm just curious. Why would they let a woman go out herding on her own? Sometimes there's 2 or 3 of them. Don't underestimate these girls. See the rifle hanging off her saddle? Aruna hung around outside the camp for a bit. She spotted the good-looking young guy inside and couldn't help sneaking a few glances herself before riding off to find her flock. That night we all sat around the campfire, tearing into big chunks of roasted lamb. I sipped on some liquor with Chun Shuyuan and the others, chowing down on the lamb. Pure bliss. The temperature swing out here was huge. The moment the sun went down, it cooled right off. After we'd had our fill, everyone sat outside chatting and stargazing. I took a sip of my drink and stared up at the stars, thinking. A while back I'd absorbed the memories of a Japanese Taoist and picked up a star reading technique. By studying how the stars lined up, I could figure out where treasures were buried. Right now, the stars were telling me there was something valuable not far from here. Looks like that's the spot the archaeology team's after. I wondered whether there might be anything with energy inside. All right, I'll head over tonight and scout it out. Clear the dangers ahead of time so we don't run into problems later. I got up and went back to my tent, leaning against my pack and listening to the sounds outside. In the next tent over, 3 female team members were bunking with Yang Nuo, the female student. So what's the deal with that Qinjin guy? No idea. He's kind of mysterious. Hu Wei, you talked to him today, get anything? Hard to ask really. We just chatted about the grasslands. Hu Wei, you've been single forever. Do a little digging. Maybe he's single too. Could be something there. Yeah, you're gorgeous. He's got to be interested. Cut it out. There's a real age gap between us. Shame. If Hu Wei were a few years younger, you'd totally have a shot. I listened until everyone had fallen asleep. Only the soldiers on watch were still up, guarding the camp. I activated my shadow cloak technique and vanished, channeling my power. In an instant, I appeared several kilometers away. I looked up at the stars and stretched out my senses. Slowly, an image of an underground chamber formed in my mind. I found the point closest to the surface and dropped straight through the ground. The tomb passageway was pitch black, but that didn't bother me. To my eyes, it was as bright as day. I moved along the tomb wall, sweeping inward, watching for any signal from my spirit detector. No idea how old these traps are, but they still work. I muttered to myself as I disabled one. When I saw the red light flashing on the detector, my heart jumped. I hurried toward where it was pointing, destroying every trap I sensed along the way. In shadow cloak form, I left no footprints. When the archaeology team came through, they'd just assumed the traps had failed with age. No suspicion. Nearing the main burial chamber, I saw several giant centipedes several meters long, with dozens more 1 to 2 meter ones crawling around them in swarms. One look and I knew. More creatures mutated by an energy source. They were all stationed outside the tomb door, clearly guardian beasts. I stroked my chin. Wonder if my powers can handle this. I raised my hand, channeled my power, and formed a needle-shaped spell. The energy pulse woke the sleeping centipedes, and they let out a horrible screeching sound like metal grinding on metal. Whoosh, a needle shot straight into the biggest one. Its massive body stiffened, and then it was dead. Hey, it works. Now I had confidence. I fired needle after needle, and in no time every last centipede was dead. This time I'd handled it with ease. Back when Old Mu had faced this kind of thing, it had taken him serious effort, and even then he'd had to pull out some special energy to finish it. Looks like my power is stronger than what Old Mu's got inside him. Comparing us head to head, I was way stronger. If I let a little of this show, would they bump me up to a Tier 3 consultant too? I smirked and pushed the thought aside. I gathered up all the corpses on the ground and dumped them into my farm space to dispose of them. No sense leaving them for the archaeology team to find and report. Once that was done, I stepped through the tomb door and got my first look at the main chamber. A coffin sat right in the center, surrounded by a ring of pottery jars, with piles of gold ingots and burial artifacts heaped alongside. With this many burial offerings, whoever's buried here has got to be somebody important. The energy source was inside the coffin. With a flick of my mind, I sensed what was in there. The corpse was clad in golden armor, now just a skeleton, with a jade pendant hanging at its waist. A single thought, and I stashed the pendant straight into my farm's warehouse. Looks like I should tag along with archaeology teams more often. Feeling pretty pleased with myself, I casually disabled all the remaining traps around me. No tomb guardian beasts either. Then I turned and headed out. A few seconds later, I was back in my tent, pulling out the jade pendant. Ding, high-level energy detected. Absorb. High-level energy again. Not bad. A flick of my mind and I absorbed it directly. That massive, ancient-looking wheel appeared in my head again. Let's see what I get this time. Start. The wheel spun faster and faster until all I could see was a blur of rainbow light. Stop. The pointer slid to a gradual halt, finally landing on the gold zone. Gold again. Ding, congratulations, host. You've won. One fully automated humanoid android production line from a sci-fi world. Come again. I stepped into my farm space and saw a massive piece of equipment sitting in the warehouse. 1 kilometer long, 1 kilometer wide, and 100 meters tall. That's huge. Good thing my warehouse was as big as the farm itself, or I'd have nowhere to put this beast. The specs floated into my mind. Feed raw materials into this line, and it would automatically produce high-grade androids, indistinguishable from real humans. The equipment automatically uploads knowledge and skills, and you can even customize their specialization. Set them to management, for instance, and out comes a management genius. Combat power's a bit on the weaker side, but their bodies are tough as nails. No weapon on this planet could take them down. The production list called for silicone rubber, titanium alloy, copper, aluminum, gold, more than a dozen materials. Toss them in, get androids out. I scratched my head. I didn't know much about this stuff, but even I could tell the materials for a single android had to cost well over 10 million. And these weren't things you could just pick up around here. I'd have to source them overseas. So that overseas money's finally got a use. Just gotta have my guys figure out how to buy this stuff without raising flags. There was one item I'd never heard of, energy stones. You needed them to boot up the machine, and the androids needed them too. With one, an android could work nonstop for 1,000 years. Without one, you could substitute batteries, but they'd need regular charging, and the power consumption was insane. Charge one up and the authorities would probably be on my case, blowing my cover. I looked up at the massive machine and shook my head. I'll just leave it here for now. I'd never even heard of these energy crystals. Whatever. I'll have Owen try to source the materials later. That money's just sitting there anyway. Who knows, maybe I'll stumble across some down the road. The night passed without incident. The next morning, I washed up and handled my business back in the farm space. Everyone else was getting up and starting breakfast. Simple stuff. They carved up the leftover roast lamb from yesterday and simmered it into a porridge. I ate breakfast with the group. Had to, or people would start wondering why I never ate. After I'd had my fill, I found a spot off to the side, sat down, and did my daily check-in. Ding, check-in successful. Congratulations, host, you've received Grandmaster level painting skills and 1 wisp of mana. A flood of memories rushed into my head, painting and calligraphy techniques from all over the world, though most were from the Dragon Kingdom. Every school, every dynasty's master strokes, all of it. Chun Shuyuan walked over. Xiaoqin, we're heading out to survey the ruins today. Want to come with? Or would you rather look around on your own? Splitting my focus between the memories and him, I stood up. Professor Chun, I don't really know much about that stuff. I'll just wander around the camp. All right, stay safe. Try not to go too far. Don't worry. I watched as Guan Yu and a few soldiers drove off with the archaeology team. Then I headed back to my tent, leaned against my backpack, and kept absorbing the reward. Damn, I'm a Grandmaster painter now, just like that. I sensed that only 2 soldiers and 2 local archaeology crew members were left in camp. A flick of thought, and several small birds appeared. Follow the team. Report back if anything happens. Yes, master. I stepped out of the tent, stretched, and wandered out of camp. Morning, sir. Yeah, just going for a walk nearby. I headed toward a hill not far off. Once I was well clear of camp, I used Shadow Shift and vanished. Meanwhile, Chun Shuyuan and the others had found a depression at the ruins. Old Chun, Is this a tomb wall? Chun Shuyuan shone his flashlight on it. Sure looks like it. Looks like natural erosion, not a grave robber's tunnel. The team was thrilled. They hadn't expected the tomb to reveal itself so soon after their arrival. They started digging right away and quickly uncovered the entrance, revealing a passageway below. But they didn't rush in. Instead, they lit candles and lowered them down to test the oxygen. Li Chongshan watched for a moment, then nodded. We're good. Let's go. Guan Yu jumped in. Elderly, let me take point with my men. He posted 2 soldiers up top, put 2 more in the rear, and led one down into the passage himself. Captain, we've got something up ahead. Guan Yu stepped up. It was a triggered trap. Chun Shuyuan asked, what is it? There's a trap that's been disabled, but there are no footprints on the ground. The group came forward. The dust on the ground was thick, and sure enough, there wasn't a single footprint. Could it have just deteriorated over time? Maybe. Let's keep moving. Further along, they found more disabled traps, but ran into zero danger. It was starting to feel really strange. Li Chongshan shook his head. There's no sign anyone else came through, so we can rule out grave robbers. Looking at this dust, could someone have sabotaged this tomb right after the burial? Chun Shuyuan couldn't wrap his head around it either. If that were the case, it means someone deliberately wanted this tomb looted. Otherwise, it doesn't add up. There's writing over here. The 2 shone their flashlights on it. That's Jurchen script. Let's check up ahead. Meanwhile, I was in another underground tomb chamber more than 50 miles from camp. I looked around and left, disappointed. There weren't many burial items here, nothing I was looking for, and no mutated creatures either. I returned to a hillside near camp and lay back on the grass, gazing off into the distance. How does this stuff even form? If I knew, I could just make it myself, and then I could spin that till my hand fell off. Hiya, a voice came from the distance. I sat up and saw the shepherd girl from yesterday driving her flock along. I stood up and watched her figure grow closer. Aruna spotted me too and rode over. You're that guy from the camp yesterday. Yeah, I know your name's Aruna. I'm Qin Zheng. She hopped off her horse and looked at me with a smile. Qin Zheng, are you with the archaeology team too? Yeah. How long are you staying? Maybe a few days. Maybe over a month. You want to come herding with me? I've never ridden a horse before. It's easy. I'll teach you. She swung back up into the saddle and stretched out her hand. Come on, I'll pull you up. Since she was being so open about it, I didn't refuse. I grabbed her hand, kicked off the ground, and swung up onto the horse's back. Aruna's eyes lit up. You know Kung Fu. Hold on tight. Let's go. I wrapped my arms around her waist. No problem. Hiya, she shouted happily, and off we galloped across the grasslands. How's it feel? Great. It was my first time really feeling what it was like to ride at full gallop, exhilarating. And even though I had a beautiful girl in my arms, I didn't feel the slightest romantic urge. Aruna glanced back at me. You're the best-looking Han guy I've ever seen. I laughed. And you're the prettiest steppe girl I've ever met. We rode a while longer before she pulled up. The sheep will graze here. Let's get down and rest. Sure. I jumped off and reached up to help her down. I'm not that delicate, she said, and just leapt off on her own. The 2 of us sat down on the grass. I heard you all came from the capital. Is it really nice there? Yeah, there's the Forbidden City, the Great Wall, all kinds of historical sites. But there's nothing like this out there. Herds of cattle and horses, grasslands stretching as far as the eye can see. She gazed out at the flock. I wonder if I'll ever get a chance to see it. I pulled out a handful of candy. Here, that's a lot. She unwrapped a milk candy happily and popped it in her mouth. So sweet. You herd alone every day? My mom and dad have other things to do. They only come out with me when they can't manage everything. Woof, woof, woof. A dog's bark came from the distance. Aruna sprang to her feet. That's not good. There are wolves. Don't run around. I'm going to drive them off. With that, she vaulted onto her horse, raised her rifle, and charged over, shouting to scare the wolves away. Off in the distance, I could see a pack of wolves herding the sheep, like they were trying to drive them somewhere else before feeding. An image flashed through my mind. 20-some wolves hiding in the tall grass, eyes locked on the sheep being herded their way. That was way too many for her to handle alone. I activated my Qigong and shot forward. Channeling my energy into my legs, I moved like lightning. Aruna had just fired off a warning shot when she saw a familiar figure blur past her. Her eyes went wide. Throwing knives appeared in my hand. Whip, whip, I hurled them out. A woo. The alpha wolf, seeing its pack cut down, threw its head back and howled. The wolves that had been hiding all charged at me. Whip, whip, knife after knife flew through the air, and one wolf after another dropped. I locked onto the alpha, poured my energy in, and shot forward like an arrow, flicking out 2 more knives. The alpha spun to flee, but was skewered mid-air before it could touch the ground. Seeing their leader dead, the remaining wolves scattered. I threw a few more knives, but didn't bother chasing down the ones that got away. Aruna's eyes were shining. She galloped over, jumped off her horse, and stared at me. Qin Zheng, you're the batter of the grasslands. Hearing that made me smile. Batter meant hero or brave warrior, a title reserved for the fiercest of men. Go back to camp and have the soldiers bring a truck out to haul the wolf carcasses back. Everyone at camp is eating well tonight. Got it. I'll go right now. She leapt onto her horse and rode off toward camp. I gathered the bodies together. 12 in total. I could have killed more, but I chose not to. Before long, the rumble of a truck engine came rolling in. When the soldier stopped and saw all those wolves, his awe for me, their young commanding officer, only grew. Chief, what should we do with them? Take them back. All the pelts go to Aruna. Yes, sir. Qin Zheng, these are your spoils. I can't take them. They belong to both of us. I wouldn't have run into them if I hadn't come with you. Once they're processed, take a few home. The way Aruna looked at me now, there was no hiding the affection in her eyes. The soldier and I loaded the carcasses onto the truck. Aruna, I'm heading back to take care of a few things. Come by camp after you finish herding to pick up your share. I'll remember. I rode back with the truck. The two team members who'd stayed behind at camp were stunned when they saw all the wolves. That many? You must have run into a huge pack. Right as they were saying that, the archaeology team's truck pulled up. Chen Shiyuan hopped out looking thrilled. Xiao Qin, this is a major find. The moment we got there, we spotted the entrance to a burial chamber, and the grave goods inside are all intact. We came back to grab our gear. After this, we're moving everything over there so we can protect and study the site properly. That's great news. Whoa, that's a lot of wolves. Who took them down? The others were floored when they saw the pile in the truck bed. Chief Qin did. I just hauled them back from the grasslands. The way everyone looked at me shifted again. Xiao Qin, you ran into a wolf pack? Yeah. I was watching Aruna herd her flock when the pack came in trying to steal her sheep. Figured I'd take care of it. I made it sound like nothing, but nobody bought that it had been that simple. The soldiers got busy dealing with the carcasses while the rest of us packed up gear and struck the tents. I pitched in too, and within an hour we were all set. Does anyone know where Aruna's family lives? Chief, I do. Good. Take the pelts and a few of the wolves to her place. Tell her they're today's spoils. Yes, sir. I climbed into a vehicle with the others and rode out to the dig site. When Li Chongshan and the rest heard I'd killed more than a dozen wolves, they went on praising me for a while. Hu Wei's expression shifted through several different looks. Once camp was set up again, people started making lunch. Wolf meat doesn't taste great cooked plain. It's best made into jerky. I showed everyone how to rub the meat with salt and slow roast it. Jerky keeps well and tastes better too. Hu Wei asked, you can cook too? Well enough. Back when I was sent down to the countryside, I lived out in the mountains on my own for a few years. You got sent down? You don't look that old. I gave a slight smile. I was 14 back then. Feels like a lifetime ago. That young. A flicker of sympathy crossed Hu Wei's face. Chen Shiyuan walked over. Xiao Qin, old Lu was right. Coming out on a dig with you is a real treat. It's only day 2 and we've already got this much wolf meat. Nobody's going to be short on protein from here on out. You're too kind, Professor Chen. Just got lucky. That refreshing incense you gave me works wonders. Even out in the field, mosquitoes and bugs aren't a problem. Li Chongshan chimed in from beside him. So that came from Xiao Qin? I was wondering where you got your hands on such good stuff. Watching people carry artifacts from the tomb into the tents, I asked, all this, are we shipping it back? Yeah. Once the dig's finished and everything's cataloged, we'll transport it out. We'd planned on more than a month, but we'll be wrapping up a lot sooner. Aruna drove her flock home. Mama, I'm heading over to the archaeology team's camp. Some soldiers came by today and dropped off 12 wolf pelts and 3 whole wolves. They said they were your spoils. They already delivered them? Aruna said, excited. Mama, I met a batter today. He's amazing. He even knows Qinggong. He killed a whole pack of wolves with just throwing knives. A grassland man stepped out of the tent. Was it a warrior from the camp? No, it was a chieftain about my age. I took him out herding today, and when a wolf pack came to snatch some sheep, he stepped in. He even took out the alpha wolf with a flying dagger. That impressive, huh? Oh right, Aruna, the warrior said their camp has moved. He was worried you wouldn't be able to find them, so he brought the stuff over himself. Moved where? That I don't know. Aruna's eyes filled with disappointment. Seeing her daughter's expression, her mother smiled and said, go look around nearby tomorrow. They shouldn't have gone far. Right? I'll go find them tomorrow. That night, I sat outside the tent drinking. Hu Wei came over with a small packet and sat down beside me. I've got some peanuts here, something to go with your drink. I've got my own. Save yours. It's fine, I have more. I tossed a few peanuts into my mouth. Not bad. You make these yourself. Yeah. What are you looking at? The stars. Hu Wei tilted her head up. The night sky here is way prettier than back in the capital. The others saw the team's beauty chatting with me. Envious as they were, there was nothing they could do about it. Gazing up at the stars, I was quietly running numbers in my head. There was another site about 100 kilometers away, and I plan to check it out tonight. Hui looked at me. Old Chun mentioned you used to work at the steel mill. Why'd you quit? No particular reason. Didn't like it, so I left. So many people can't even find a job, and there you were, already the head of logistics, and you just walked away. I smiled. I'm too lazy to be in charge. Doesn't suit me. I'd rather be free like this. After a few drinks, once everyone had retreated to their tents, I got up and said, turning in. Hui headed back too. I leaned against my backpack and closed my eyes to rest. The phone in my mind connected. Boss, I've gone through the list you sent. A lot of it is high-precision raw materials. It'll take some time. No rush. Use the money in my account. Buy as much as you can and stash it in the warehouse. Yes, sir. I transferred a large batch of supplies through the teleportation point and hung up. I figured this stuff wouldn't come cheap. Good thing teleporting the goods cost nothing. By midnight, when everyone was fast asleep, I channeled my mana to turn invisible and used lightness skills to travel. An hour later, I arrived. Before me was a lake, with plenty of animals drinking along its shore. Shifting into shadow form, I approached a herd of gazelles and, with a thought, stored a few into the farm. I grabbed a few Argali sheep and wild donkeys nearby too, leaving the smaller animals alone. I circled the lake, studying it. Could the thing be in the lake? Let's take a look. I dove straight in, sensing the lake bed, and quickly located a hollow space. Pushing through the silt and stone walls, I entered a tomb passage. I checked this spirit detector. No reaction. I followed the corridor deeper. Images of various creatures flashed through my mind. Crocodiles this huge. Some were over 30 feet long, the smallest around 15. Walking further, I came across a pack of sleeping crocs, with a large pool nearby that must have been their hunting ground. In shadow form, not a single one noticed me. Past the crocodile zone, I walked on until the light on the spirit detector lit up. I quickened my pace. So many corpse beetles. I'd only ever seen them in movies and shows. Never imagined they were real. They swarmed thick as carpet, and just looking at them made my scalp crawl. Through the stone gate lay a burial chamber full of grave goods. On a stone pedestal sat a wooden box, and I sensed a jade fragment inside. With a thought, I stored it away. Looks like the tomb's owner knew it was valuable too. Otherwise, he wouldn't have put it in its own box. The spirit detector went silent. I channeled my mana and turned invisible. The trip in had taken an hour. The trip back took just a few minutes. I left the creatures in the tomb alone. Archaeological teams wouldn't head out that way, and if I cleared them out, it'd only make things easy for grave robbers. Back at the tent, I happily took out the jade fragment. Ding, special energy detected. Absorb. Absorb. The roulette wheel in my mind started spinning. Before it could pick up speed, I shouted, stop. The pointer swept past the purple zone and landed on blue. I could only sigh. I'd hoped timing it might work, but no dice. Ding, congratulations, host. You've drawn top-grade spirit artifact from the cultivation world. Folding fan of Heaven's Judgment. The Thunder Fan. Sounds like a serious piece just from the name. A folding fan appeared in my hand. Damn, it's heavy. I quickly steadied it. This thing had to weigh over 100 pounds. It looked like wood, but clearly there was more to it than that. Information popped into my head. The Heaven's Judgment Thunder Fan weighed 188 pounds, forged from top-tier spirit materials, boosted spell power by 50%, and could unleash lightning attacks. Its ultimate technique, Heaven's Judgment, could generate a terrifying zone of lightning around the user, with range depending on mana. My eyes lit up. Now that's the good stuff. With a thought, I branded it with my soul mark, instantly forging a bond with the fan. The heaviness vanished in an instant. It felt no different from an ordinary fan in my hand. After binding, I need to nurture it daily with mana. Once it fully recognized me as its master, I could store it in my Danteon. Casting spells through it would cut mana consumption in half. As for Heaven's Judgment, powerful, sure, but at my current level, a single use would drain my Danteon dry. Not something to pull out except in a critical moment. I tapped it. There was a metallic ring. I flicked it open and fanned myself. A wave of cool air washed over me. Hey, just like an AC. After playing with it a while, I lay down to rest. Early the next morning, everyone got up to wash and pack. I had breakfast, dried wolf meat, congee, steamed buns, and pickled vegetables. Out here in the wild, that was actually pretty decent. After eating, I found a spot to sit and watch the archaeology team gear up and head into the tomb. In my consciousness, I checked in. Ding, check-in complete. Congratulations, host, you've received Grandmaster level driving skills, mana times 1 wisp. A flood of driving knowledge poured into my mind. Cars, motorcycles, yachts, airplanes, any vehicle you could name, plus some repair skills thrown in. Not bad, another Grandmaster level skill. I fanned myself lazily. Hui came over wearing a hat. You want to come down into the tomb with us? I waved her off with a smile. Nah, if I break something I couldn't afford to replace it. I'll just stay up here. Hee hee, look at you being careful. All right, I'm heading to work. Not long after, Aruna rode up in a beautiful outfit, having followed the wheel tracks to the new campsite. I smiled and went out to greet her. Aruna, you look gorgeous today. As long as you like it. I scratched my head a little awkwardly. These grassland girls were bold and straightforward. When they took a liking to someone, they'd put on their finest clothes. Want to come herding with me? Looking into her hopeful eyes, I nodded. Sure. As we rode out of camp together on one horse, some folks watched with envy, while others just shook their heads. When we reached the foot of the mountain, I asked, "Where's your flock?" "My father took them out to graze today." She slid off the horse and looked at me with a smile. "Want to see me dance?" "Sure." I sat down on the grass and watched her dance gracefully, her smile absolutely contagious. With her elegant movements set against that picture-perfect scenery, I couldn't resist wanting to paint the scene. Too bad it wasn't a good time to pull out a brush and paper. I'd just have to lock it away in my memory and paint it later. She stopped and walked slowly toward me. "You're my batter. Will you have me?" I could read her heart. "Aruna, I'll be leaving before long. I won't cling to you. I just want a beautiful memory." I pulled her down onto the grass, holding her close. "I'll remember today for the rest of my life. You could come back to the capital with me." She nuzzled against my chest. "I wouldn't dare dream of having you. Being with you before you leave is enough for me. If you want to come, you can. Back there, we wouldn't have to worry about your background." She shook her head. "I love the grasslands. You can come find me next time you're here." Meanwhile, Chen Xiuyuan and the others had spent all day hauling everything up. A whole pile of gold ingots now sat in front of them. "Old Li, we need the garrison to move this out ASAP. Yeah, sitting on this stuff, I can't even sleep right. Gold is small in size, but massive in value. If someone gave in to temptation and swiped a piece, there'd be no way to sort it out." Guan Yu had the radio operator contact the higher-ups. Hui didn't see me around and figured I'd gone off with that grassland girl again. She felt a little jealous. Toward evening, I rode back. "Aruna, go home and get some rest. I'm heading off, Zhang. I'll come find you again in a few days." I smiled and waved, grinning all the way back into camp. When everyone saw me return, they all wore that knowing smile only men understand. Chen Shuyuan waved me over. "Xiao Qin, Company Commander Guan got in touch with the garrison. They'll haul the artifacts and gold out tonight. Another week, and we'll wrap up the dig here. Then we'll head into town to rest up for a few days before heading back." "Sounds good. I'll grab some gifts to bring home to friends while I'm at it." He chuckled. "That grassland girl's a fine one. But taking her home as a wife won't be easy. Know your limits." "Got it." Aruna flat out refused to come with me and insisted on staying to tend her flock. I let her be. Honestly, the capital isn't as free and easy as it is out here. At dinner, Hui brought me a plate. "I figured you'd be eating in the yurt tonight." "Thanks for the trouble," I said with a smile, offering no explanation. That night, a dozen or so army trucks rolled into camp, and the soldiers loaded up the antiques and drove off. For the next week, every evening I went into the grasslands and put the wild wolves under my control to stand guard. With a wolf pack watching over her, Aruna was perfectly safe. Once the excavation was done, word spread that we'd be heading into town to rest for a few days, and everyone was thrilled, especially the women, who hadn't showered in days. Hui got to the point where she wouldn't even come near me, afraid I'd find her gross. Aruna sat on horseback atop a hillside, watching the convoy disappear into the distance. She unrolled a scroll. On it was a painting of a dancing grassland girl, capturing every detail of that day perfectly. Thinking of me, tears rolled down her cheeks. "I know you'll come back for me." The Archaeology Bureau put us up in a guest house. Chen Shuyuan and the others went off to meetings. The rest of us had free time. Hui, fresh from her shower, cheerfully knocked on my door. "I'm heading out to do some shopping in town. Want to come?" "Sure. I need to pick up a few things too." I locked up and headed out with her. The others came along too, and we all walked over to the co-op supply store not far away. Beef jerky, dairy products, finely crafted knives, and silverware. I picked out quite a lot. "You're buying a ton. I've got a lot of friends. Might as well stock up." "I'm done too. Let's go." Coming out of the store, I kept an eye on the spirit detector in my pack the whole way, but nothing showed up. By nearly noon, I spotted a state-run restaurant not far off. "It's not every day we come out here. Let me treat you to some local flavor. It's expensive. Won't cost that much. Come on." I looked over the menu. "We'll take 3 pounds of hand-grabbed mutton, an order of fried lamb tail, and a bowl of lamb offal stew." "Isn't that too much?" "Not at all. Grab us a seat." The hand-grabbed mutton came out fast, clear stewed lamb with garlic chive flowers, absolutely delicious. You can only get real, authentic hand-grabbed mutton out here. Hui ate hungrily. Back when I was doing my rural stint out here, the longer I stayed, the more I missed one thing: Chinese cabbage. Nothing but dry rations and meat? Yeah, that gets old fast. I had a good appetite and cleaned my plate, then polished off a few big meat buns. You sure can pack it away. The food's that good. Let's head back. Back at the guest house, I stashed my stuff in storage and brewed a cup of tea. Chun Shuyuan returned from his meeting. Xiaoqin, we've got 3 days off. We'll take the train back together. Tomorrow old Li and I are going to check out some antique shops. You're welcome to tag along if you want. Sure, I'll come broaden my horizons with you. I'll come get you in the morning. I'm getting on in years. Body's not what it used to be. I'll go rest for a bit. I saw him out, then went back and pulled out a small block of wood and a knife, ready to carve, when I heard a knock at the door. I put my things away and went to open it. Hui walked in. I laid down but couldn't sleep, so I came to see what you were up to. I poured her a cup of tea. I was just trying to figure out what to do this afternoon, and here you are. So did you come up with anything? Nope, I said, taking a sip of tea, but I did figure out what to do tonight. What's that? Head out for some roast leg of lamb and grilled mutton. Wanna come? Sure, but tonight's on me. I waved her off. I'm the one who wants to eat, so you can tag along at most. No way I'm letting you pay. You're pretty old school macho. You bet. Stick with me, and you'll eat well and live well. She covered her mouth and laughed. All right then, I'll let you feed me these next few days and see if it's really true. No problem. She took a sip of tea. Are you married? I shook my head. Not old enough yet. Besides, these days it's all about marrying and having kids later. Gotta follow the policy. Hearing not old enough, she felt that pang of disappointment again. There was nearly a 7-year gap between us. What chance did she have? Well, then there's really no rush. By the way, how come you stayed single? After coming back from the countryside, I went straight into the archaeology bureau. I'm on the road all the time, so I just stopped thinking about it. You could find someone in the same field. Then you could work together. I'm too old for all that now. You're not old at all. Right now's when a woman's at her most beautiful. Her cheeks flushed pink. Oh please, you're just flattering me. I reached out and pinched her cheek. You're out in the field all the time, but your skin's still this good. You're really blessed. You should go out less from now on, or that gorgeous skin of yours won't last. She felt the warmth of my hand and nervously tugged at the hem of her shirt. You don't mind that I'm older? I pulled my hand back. Mind what? You're not old at all. You've got to have more confidence. Hui blushed. There's almost a 7-year gap between us. It wouldn't work. With that, she started to stand up. You get some rest. I'll come find you later. I grabbed her, pulled her into my arms, and kissed her right on the lips. Her eyes went wide and she froze for a second, then couldn't help but wrap her arms tightly around me. The door clicked, locked from the inside. Meanwhile, another little drama was playing out in the manager's office at the Shenyang guest house. Lung Yuning stared at the smiling Qian Ling across from her and spoke coldly. You little vixen. What are you doing here? I missed you, of course, my icy beauty. Just came by to see you. Lung Yuning's face stayed cold, but her eyes flickered. That guy from the Yun family isn't hassling you anymore. So now you're back to your old tricks? Yun Heng is still at home recovering. Knocked out 2 front teeth. Now he whistles when he talks. The corner of Lung Yuning's mouth twitched up. I'm busy. Get to the point. Qian Ling got up, walked over, and rested a hand on her shoulder. You know women age fast, right? Want me to set you up with a handsome young guy? Get lost. Lung Yuning slapped her hand away. Heh, always acting like an ice cube. Careful, or you'll die alone. You're not doing any better than me. Qian Ling glanced around. Don't think I don't know you bought this place. I found a spot nearby too. Already got it renovated. I'll be dropping by all the time now. Whatever. Just watch you don't go bankrupt with no customers. Qian Ling covered her mouth and laughed. I've got a strategist advising me, you know. Want to guess who it is? Lung Yuning gritted her teeth. Who? Oops, slip of the tongue. You figured it out yourself. I never said a word, okay? Get out. Yes, ma'am. Qian Ling gave her a goofy salute and walked out laughing. Lung Yuning slammed the table in fury. That sneaky bastard. Meeting up with that little vixen behind my back. Just wait till I see him. He's gonna get it. And that sneaky bastard was, at that very moment, lying in bed. A thought stirred in my mind. Divine power, enslavement, activated. Feedback from a successful enslavement came through, and a new point of light appeared in my sea of consciousness. Hui was sprawled across my chest, still panting softly. You're gonna be the death of me. I gave her a pinch. Can't have that. You're too much of a prize. I've got to enjoy you plenty more times. You're awful. Inside, though, she was melting. She hugged me tighter. Will you come see me? Of course. Come find me at home whenever you're free. I'll introduce you to some new friends. Don't tell anyone about us, okay? I don't want people making fun of me. Relax. Nobody's gonna find out. She traced little circles on my chest with her finger. Just don't say anything, all right? I lit a cigarette. From now on, take on some logistics work. Try not to go out on missions. I'm used to it. Otherwise, I'd be bored stiff sitting at home all day. I pinched her cheek. Wait till your skin's ruined. Then we'll see if you regret it. You're the worst. It won't happen. She snuggled up to me. If I get ugly, will you still want me? Obviously not. The second you turn ugly, you're kicked to the curb. Annoyed, she bit down on my chest. Whoa, were you born in the year of the dog? Biting me now? I'll have to teach you a lesson. Eek, I won't do it again. The two of us dissolved into laughter and playful roughhousing. Her eyes were full of love, and she thought talking to me felt so easy. The age gap didn't feel like anything at all. Little did she know, this 20-something body of mine housed a soul in its 40s. We rested until dark, then got up and got dressed. If you're not feeling well, just wait here and I'll bring back some food. I'm not that delicate. She took a few test steps and looked at me with a smile. As long as I walk slow, I'm fine. Seeing she was okay, I remembered my pills. I pulled out a top-grade healing pill and handed it to her. Take this. You'll recover faster. What is it? She took it curiously, caught the herbal scent, and popped it into her mouth. It wasn't bitter. Before she could even taste it, the pill had dissolved. A healing pill. The main ingredient is 100-year-old ginseng. Great for treating internal and external injuries, and for restoring vitality. 100-year-old ginseng. Her jaw dropped. She was on an archaeological team, so of course she knew what that meant. Just then she felt a warm current flowing through her body. Her shoulders, lower back, knees, and feet all felt toasty and warm. Wow, I feel all warm inside, and my joints feel so warm too. This feels amazing. Those are all the hidden injuries you've accumulated over the years. You're young now, so you don't notice, but once you get older, they'll all come back to haunt you. She happily linked her arm through mine. I feel great now, like nothing's wrong at all. Thank you. I pinched her cheek. No need to thank me. Come on, let's take care of dinner. I'm starving. Once we left the room, she stopped holding my arm, and we walked side by side out of the guest house. I was pretty satisfied with the pill's effect, more than worth its value. We found a barbecue joint on the street. The smell of grilled lamb hit us the moment we walked in, and I couldn't help taking a deep breath. One lamb leg, and a bit of everything else on the grill. I pulled out cash and meat ration coupons as I ordered. Hu-wei watched me with a smile, suddenly finding even the way I paid the bill charming. The other diners glanced our way, then went back to their drinking and eating. Hu-wei was sharing a room with another team member, so she had to head back to her own room to sleep for the night. I gathered up the sheets and bedding, tossed them into my farm space to clean, and then took them out and remade the bed. At that same moment, on the outskirts of Tara City, a group of soldiers had cordoned off a collapsed area where black mist was visibly seeping out. The commander in charge surveyed the scene. Everyone fall back. Commander, there are still people unconscious inside. We have to get them out now. You think I don't know that? Anyone who gets close passes out. From this far away, there's no way to pull them out. Until we find a solution, I'm not throwing lives away for nothing. Commander, phone call from HQ. I had just lain down when there was a knock at my door. Standing outside were several strangers. I was a little curious. Coming. I threw on my clothes and went to open the door. It was a group of military personnel. Sir, please, there's a phone call for you. I nodded. Where's the phone? Downstairs. The commotion in the hallway had drawn the attention of the archaeology team and other guests, who poked their heads out curiously. Chen Xiuyuan spotted the soldiers and asked, Xiaoqin, what's going on? Professor Chen, I need to take a phone call. You all get some rest. Hu-wei watched me with a worried look, but held herself back from saying anything. Downstairs, soldiers had already secured the area. I picked up the phone. Who is this? Consecrated Qin, we've got an emergency situation. You're the only consecrated in the area. The others won't arrive until tomorrow. If you're willing, all we need is for you to secure the scene and hold out until tomorrow, when a senior consecrated will be there. It was Luo Tang. I got straight to the point. No problem. Keep me posted if anything comes up. Got it. To save time, I'll have the officer picking you up brief you on the situation. I hung up and turned to the officer. Let's move out. Now. Yes, sir. Once we were in the jeep, I said, fill me in. A sinkhole opened up in the outskirts today, out of nowhere. Massive amounts of black gas started pouring out. Some nearby herdsmen went to check it out and collapsed on the spot. The people who went to rescue them, same thing. They reported it to the Public Security Bureau, and when their officers got there, they went down too. The military district got orders to lock the area down. We tried to pull people out and failed. 12 of our soldiers are unconscious. The hospital can't find a thing wrong with them, but their vitals are slowly fading. Doctors say if we don't figure this out, they've got 3 days at most. I listened, turning it over in my head. Could this be another energy artifact? And judging from the situation, this was way worse than the incident at that construction site back in the capital. I tapped my folding fan against my palm. Anything else? That's all for now. How long till we get there? 40 minutes, tops. I kept tapping the fan and closed my eyes to rest. Black gas. Most likely some kind of energy. Couldn't be poison gas, or the hospital would have caught it in the lab work. Out at the outskirts, The perimeter was completely sealed off by stationed troops. Roar! A terrifying howl echoed up from underground. What the hell was that? Commander, you think there's some kind of beast down in that hole? When's the specialist from HQ getting here? Guest house just called. They're already en route. 10 minutes out, max. Lock and load. Level 1 alert. Yes, sir. The synchronized clicks of rounds chambering rang out, and a killing edge instantly hung in the air. Every man was dug in behind cover, eyes locked on the sinkhole. The moon was buried behind clouds, and the sight was pitch black. Without orders, nobody dared switch on their headlights. In the distance, headlights flared, and the roar of a Jeep engine approached. He's here. Roar. Another howl ripped up from below. Hearing that sound actually put me at ease. It was pretty much the same as the incident at the Capitol construction site. If that's really all this was, it'd be a cakewalk. The Jeep stopped. I stepped out. Sir, Regimental Commander Wang Baohua, reporting with the full regiment. I returned the salute. Commander Wang, keep your men on alert. I'm going to take a look. Anyone who gets near the black gas passes out. We've got 38 people down and unresponsive. Right? Let me check it out first. I walked over. The second I got a look at the black gas rising from the pit, the red light on my spirit detector started flashing. So there is something here. Staring at the black gas, I ran through my options, raised my folding fan, and condensed a mana silver needle. A streak of white light shot out, hit something, and instantly tore a huge gap in the black gas. That works. A wave of relief hit me. I fired off a few more needles, and every trace of black gas on the ground vanished. The gas clinging to the unconscious victims dissipated right along with it. I let out a full breath. Get them out of there. Yes, sir. Nobody had time to be shocked. They rushed forward to carry the victims out. Roar. Then came the sound of paws pounding the ground. I frowned. From the sound of it, there was a lot down there. Stand guard up here. I'm going down. A few strides brought me to the edge of the pit. Down below, dozens of wolves were gathered, every one of them wreathed in black gas. Mutated wild wolf. Remaining lifespan, 58 years. Mutated wild wolf. Remaining. You've got to be kidding me. Even wolves can mutate now. I swept my fan, and a glowing orb of light dropped down. Boom! A massive explosion. The light curtain washed over the wolf pack below, scattering the black gas, snuffing out every life sign. Dead on the spot. Seeing that a single hit had cleared everything down there, I jumped straight in. Before my feet even touched the ground, I activated Shadow Shift and vanished. I wasn't worried about revealing that I had energy abilities in front of others, but any cards I could keep hidden, I'd keep hidden. I looked at the wolf carcasses on the ground, but didn't touch them. This was a limestone cave, jagged rocks everywhere. Nothing like the tomb I'd been picturing. Following the energy signature, I headed deeper in. Roar, another howl. A low, rumbling growl echoed from further inside. I knew it wasn't over yet. Right on cue, another pack of black gas-shrouded wolves came charging out, eyes burning like coals. Absolutely terrifying to look at. I flung out another mana bomb. Boom! A white flash detonated, engulfing the entire pack. Some were blown clean off their feet. The wave of white light swept through, and every last one of them stopped breathing. That's it. I was almost impressed with myself. My mana reserves were still nearly full, no strain at all. Especially channeling through the spirit tier folding fan, my mana consumption was cut by nearly half. Heh, nothing beats one-shotting your targets. Feels good. Then the space opened up in front of me, and there it was. A massive, pitch-black wolf, chained down by 4 iron chains as thick as tree trunks. On all fours, it stood a solid 4 or 5 meters tall. Mutated Wolf King. Remaining lifespan, 895 years. I froze. I'd never seen a creature with a lifespan that high. But looking at the black gas rolling off it, I hesitated. Would enslaving it cause problems? I scanned the area. Piles of bones on both sides, along with some shattered pieces of armor. Roar! The giant wolf spotted me and howled again. I thought about it and decided against enslaving it. Whether it'd even work aside, if its black gas ended up corrupting my mind, that'd be a nightmare. I condensed a mana silver needle and fired. Whoosh! The giant wolf's body seized up, and a massive burst of black gas erupted from it. Oh, come on. Can't win. So you go biochemical? I channeled my mana and shot forward like lightning. On the chained giant wolf's body, the black gas kept dispersing, and patches of white fur slowly began to show through. Whimper. Seeing it couldn't move anymore, I took a look around, then with a mental command, stored a chunk of or into my inventory. That was the energy source. The giant wolf seemed to sense that its most precious possession was gone. It thrashed desperately, trying to snap the chains, howling even more fiercely. I swept my fan, sending a few more silver needles flying. Whoosh, whoosh. The last of the black gas on the wolf vanished completely, revealing a magnificent white giant wolf. Its eyes even carried a hint of release. The way it looked at me held something almost human, gratitude. Then the white wolf slumped down onto the stone platform and died, chains still locked around its body. I studied it, but didn't undo the chains. Thinking back to that look in its eyes, I was certain it had been thanking me. Guess it knew what it had become. Knew it wasn't right. I checked the spirit detector again. No reaction. I turned and headed back. Everyone above was waiting anxiously. That last howl had made every hair on their body stand up. I leapt back up in a single bound. Wang Baohua hurried over. Sir, how'd it go? Handled. But you'll still need to keep the area locked down until an investigation team gets here from HQ. Yes, sir. He let out a breath. The unconscious ones out here have woken up. The ones at the hospital haven't yet. Right. Take me to the hospital in a bit. First, get me a phone. I need to make a call to the capital. Yes, sir. This way, please. The moment the phone rang, Luo Tang picked up. Retainer Chin, is that you? It's me. Problem solved. Down there was a pack of mutant wolves, plus a 4 or 5 meter tall white giant wolf chained up, all dead. Someone needs to come determine how to handle the aftermath. Luo Tang's eyes lit up. Retainer Chin, are you hurt? I'm fine. Good. I'll report to my superiors and contact you again after they assign a rating. The rating doesn't matter to me. By the way, I had the garrison keep the area sealed off, so send your people over as soon as possible. Yes, sir. After hanging up, I turned to Wang Baohua. Have someone drive me to the hospital. Others will take over from there. Yes, sir. The unconscious patients at the hospital all had a layer of black mist on them, which I easily dispelled with my magic power. Meanwhile, Hu Wei was lying in her room, unable to sleep, listening to the noises out in the hallway. After who knows how long, she heard the door open, slipped out of bed carefully, and went out to check. I poured a glass of water and took a sip. When Hu Wei saw me come back, she hurried inside, closed the door, and nervously asked if I was okay. I smiled and said I was fine, then asked why she was still up. She let out a sigh of relief and said she'd been worried sick. How could she possibly sleep? I told her to hurry back to her room. She gave me a kiss, said she'd come find me tomorrow, and left. I locked the door and went into the farm space to wash up. After that, I took out the ore I'd just obtained. Ding's special energy detected. Absorb. I examined it for a while. It just looked like an ordinary rock, nothing unusual about it. Strange. I said yes, absorb it. The wheel appeared. This trip alone gave me 3 spins. I was in a great mood. The wheel spun, I called stop, and the pointer landed on the red zone. Ding, congratulations, host. You've won Spirit Realm Special Race Eye Technique. Can view the remaining lifespan of any target. Auto-integrating with Heavenly Eye. A surge of energy flooded into my mind. Just as it was about to wrap around my eyes, a suction force emerged from between my brows and pulled the energy in. A cool sensation spread through my eyes, followed by a wave of enlightenment. Divine ability, Heavenly Eye. Distinguishes loyalty from treachery, good from evil, and can see the remaining lifespan of any target. Seeing someone's lifespan might be useless to others, but not to me. I had the beast taming art, which lets me form contracts with creatures and share lifespans. With this ability, I could handpick targets precisely and never waste a sharing opportunity. I also had the spirit turtle with unlimited lifespan. Once it matured after 1,000 years, I could enslave it and share endless life. I was feeling pretty smug when I glanced at the chair in the room and froze. Wooden chair. Remaining usable lifespan, 8 years. That's when I understood what any target really meant, living or non-living. It worked on everything. Of course, what it showed was the normal usable lifespan. Destructive use would naturally shorten it. The night passed uneventfully. The next morning, after washing up, I checked in. Ding, check-in successful. Rewards, Spirit Restoration Pill times 10, Magic Power times 1 Wisp. Another bottle. Happily, I stored it away in my inventory. There was a knock at the door. It was Hu Wei, telling me it was time for breakfast. I looked above her head. Hu Wei. Remaining lifespan, 48 years. Chun Shuyuan and Li Chongshan walked over and asked if I was okay from yesterday. I said I was fine. Chun Shuyuan. Remaining lifespan, 21 years. Li Chongshan. Remaining lifespan, 16 years. Chun Shuyuan said the antique shop didn't open until after 8, so we should grab breakfast first. It was only a little past 6, plenty of time. The food was good, xiaomai dumplings, manta buns, congee, and some pickled sides. Looking at the lifespans floating above everyone's heads, I suddenly felt this ability wasn't so great after all. Strangers didn't matter, but the closer someone was to me, especially my women, the more helpless I felt knowing their lifespan and being unable to change it. Chun Shuyuan mentioned the antique shops here also sold handicrafts, so I could buy some if I liked them. Li Chongshan said the Archaeology Bureau often traveled to different places, and if I was interested, I could have Hu Wei contact him so I could tag along. I agreed. When Hu Wei heard me say yes, she was thrilled. After breakfast, I went back to my room. Hu Wei followed me in. I locked the door behind us and lifted her onto the bed. After getting dressed, we sat down for tea. Hu Wei reminded me not to buy things carelessly. Not everything over there was a genuine antique. I told her I wasn't really into antiques. I'd only buy something if it was special. I asked her if the Archaeology Bureau had any special collections. She thought about it and said they were all just old items. Anything without research value got transferred to museums. I thought to myself, the tomb-related items the Special Affairs Bureau handled all ended up at the Archaeology Bureau. There had to be energy-infused items among them. It just wouldn't look good for me to grab them personally. We set out. On the street, every passerby had a remaining lifespan floating above their head. Strangers didn't show names. Only people whose names I knew displayed them. A worker on the roadside had a countdown coming off his shovel. Snap, it broke. The tire on a three-wheeled cart suddenly went flat. Everything matched up with the lifespan readings. After seeing enough of it, I stopped feeling anything about it. None of it had anything to do with me. At the antique shop, sure enough, there were both antiques and handicrafts, all consigned by locals. I didn't see anything with energy in it. Hu Wei said even if I bought something, I'd have to worry about thieves, so it was better not to bother. Chen Shuyuan said there was one more shop and led the way. On the road, I asked if there were a lot of tomb raiders around. Chen Shuyuan said the vast land and sparse population here made it perfect for their activities. Li Chongshan said these people had special skills and always managed to find things one step ahead of the Archaeology Bureau. I asked if they were divided into schools. He said they split into northern and southern factions along the Yangtze River, but most of the traditional lineages had been lost over time. As we talked, I sensed my spirit detector flashing. There was another antique shop up ahead, right along our route. My heart leapt, and I headed straight for the handicrafts section. There was a dagger on the counter. I asked how much. Hu Wei looked puzzled. I hadn't bought anything at the last place, but here I was asking right away. The owner said it was consigned by a local, 30 yuan. I didn't haggle and just paid. Hu Wei whispered that it was too expensive. The last shop only wanted 20. I told her it was fine, took the dagger, and put it in my bag. Meanwhile, the Special Affairs Bureau team arrived in Tatar City and headed straight for the pit outside the city. Someone reported. Yesterday, Chief Qin dealt with the Black Mist. They weren't clear on what happened down in the pit, but the roaring had grown frantic for a moment before going silent. They'd also heard a dense pattern of running footsteps down below, as if a lot of things were running. Third-rank retainer Mu Qing jumped straight down to investigate, while the action team slid down along the ropes. The ground was covered in wolf corpses. Mu Qing's face turned grim. There were dozens by the look of it. With his strength, wiping them all out would have been nearly impossible. That young man actually had this level of power? Going further in, there were dozens more wolf corpses. When they reached the corpse pit, a massive white wolf lay sprawled on the opposite side. Mu Qing's expression grew even heavier. After thinking it over, he feigned nonchalance and said, "A white wolf this size is rare." Retainer Qin didn't know when to hold back. If he hadn't killed it, we could have brought it back for research. He Yu, leader of the second action team, frowned. There are over 100 wolf corpses back there. Maybe the white wolf was the leader, and killing it was the only option. Mu Qing said those wild wolves could have been taken down with firearms, and there were troops stationed outside anyway. He'd overstepped. He walked a full circle around the white wolf, ran his fingers along the iron chain, but couldn't find any written records. He said the white wolf had clearly been chained there on purpose, but it was a shame it was dead. He ordered the corpse hauled back for study and told them to clear out the corpse pit and bury it. Someone asked what grade this incident should be classified as. Mu Qing waved it off. D grade is enough. Someone pushed back. Wasn't that too low? Mu Qing let out a cold snort. This white wolf has research value. A low grade is meant to send him a message. Don't act on impulse next time. Someone else spoke up, pointing out that neither the white wolf nor the wolf corpses had any wounds, so maybe Attendant Qin hadn't been the one who killed them. Mu Qing turned and started walking back. D grade is generous enough. That's final. At noon, I treated Chen Shuyuan and the others to lunch at a restaurant. They kept praising me for being humble, unlike other young guys who got a little success and started looking down their noses at everyone. I laughed it off and waved, saying it was getting late and they should head back to rest. Hu Wei went home too. Back in my room, I brewed a cup of tea and pulled out the dagger. Ding, special energy detected. Absorb. There was a beautiful gemstone set in it. I figured that was the energy source. I said absorb. The gemstone vanished. Called it. I put the now useless dagger away. The wheel appeared, and I said start. This time I wasn't going to say stop. I wanted to see if it would stop on its own. Second by second, minute by minute, 10 minutes went by, and it was still spinning. I said, so you really won't stop until I say so, huh? Let's see how long this drags on. Ding, host, quit fooling around. If you don't call stop, The energy will run out, and you'll lose the draught. I quickly called stop. No way I was wasting a chance. The pointer slowly settled on the orange zone. Ding, congratulations, host. You've won. Cultivation World Basic Spells, Volume 1. A flood of memories poured in. Fireball, Cleansing Spell, Invisibility, Sword Flight. For spells at once. Interesting. I formed the hand seal and cast the cleansing spell. A wave of energy swept over me, leaving me as refreshed as if I'd just stepped out of the shower. One cast keeps you dust-free for 3 days. I cast it on the room too. The desk, chair, bed, everything came out spotless, and the bedding even had that warm, sun-dried scent. Nice. Fireball could take out enemies, and invisibility could hide me and the folding fan so no one would see us. But the biggest surprise was sword flight. I didn't have a spirit sword, but I had a top-tier spiritual artifact folding fan, and it worked just the same. I made the seal, and the fan floated up. With a point of my finger, it suddenly expanded to about 6 feet long. I hopped on, worked to keep my balance, and flew it around the room. Just like an immortal, I could actually take to the skies now. After playing around a bit, I dismissed the spell, and the fan shrank back to normal. I picked it up and sighed. You'd better hurry up and finish refining, so I can store you in my Danteon. Otherwise, I've got to lug you around forever. But spiritual energy was scarce in this world, and to avoid burning through my pills, I could only channel a trickle of magic power a day to nurture it. Progress was painfully slow. Meanwhile, Li Chongshan got a call from his unit in the capital telling him to catch the train back tomorrow. Didn't matter to me. That evening, I took Hui out to dinner as usual. I told her once I got back, I probably wouldn't be traveling for a while, so I'd stop by her place when I had time. We went back to the room, and it was almost 10 before she went to her own. Elsewhere, Luo Tang got the notice and frowned at the D-grade rating. She asked Director Su whether the incident Attendant Qin had handled was actually more dangerous than the C- Attendant Mu had handled before. Wasn't this grade way too low? Su Zhe shook his head, saying the action team was told Elder Mu had assessed them as ordinary underground creatures, easily dispatched. Luo Tang said, but dozens of people at the scene had fallen unconscious, and even hospitals couldn't do anything. Attendant Qin was the one who resolved that too. Su Zhe sighed. Don't you get it? Attendant Qin is brand new and he's already overshadowing everyone else. Someone's pulling strings against him. Luo Tang was furious. She asked how she was supposed to explain this to Attendant Qin. Su Zhe told her to take it up with the director. Luo Tang carried the file into Director Fang Qixiao's office and laid the grading issue on the table. Fang Qixiao took a sip of tea. We have to respect the senior attendant's judgment. Attendant Qin just joined. Let him build up seniority gradually. Everything he deserves will come in time. Luo Tang asked how she was supposed to explain that. Fang Qixiao said the grade had been decided by the seniors. There was nothing to explain. Luo Tang pressed on. If this bred resentment and Attendant Qin stopped taking missions, or worse, walked out, it would be a huge loss for the Bureau. Fang Qixiao waved her off. You need to understand. The Bureau relies on those seniors for a lot of its work. If he really shows what he's capable of, support will come naturally. But that hasn't happened yet. Luo Tang said she understood and turned to leave. She knew the director was right, but she still planned to tell Qin Zheng and let him decide for himself. The archaeology team took a full day on the train back to the capital. Li Chongshan and Chen Shiyuan both said their goodbyes and made me promise to catch up when I had time. I smiled and waved them off. Just as I was about to hail a rickshaw, I saw Luo Tang pulling up in a jeep. Luo Tang. Remaining lifespan, 59 years. She was in her 20s now, so she'd live to her 80s. I opened the door and got in, saying, "You came all this way to pick me up?" She said she'd come to brief me on how this incident was handled. All right, we'll talk when we get home. I gave her a smile and fanned myself. Whatever she was feeling, I could read it clear as day. The moment I got back to the capital, I could feel the temperature was noticeably warmer. The car pulled up at Tingzheng Pavilion, and when Lu Tong and the others saw I was back, they all stood up, grinning. Brother Zheng, you're back. Yeah, I'm back. Everything good at home. All good. Zhang Dan noticed Luo Tang following me in and gave her a smile and a nod in greeting. I ran a quick scan. Lu Tong had 63 years left, Zhang Dan only 42. I made a mental note. I'd have to find something to help her later. I set my bag down. We're heading upstairs to talk about something. I'll catch up with you all in a bit. Luo Tang and I went up to the second floor, and I sat down at the tea table and started brewing tea. She pulled out the file. The other attendants graded this incident as D level. You've been awarded 150 points. I poured the tea. That thing at the construction site last time, what grade was that? C-. I had to laugh. If this wasn't textbook workplace politics, I didn't know what was. I went to the director. Luo Tang continued. He said the Bureau relies on those senior attendants, and since they haven't seen your true capabilities yet, he has to defer to them. I checked the archives. Under normal circumstances, what you handled this time should have been at least A grade. Based on this alone, you could have been promoted straight to 4th tier attendant. The higher-ups might have even bumped you to 3rd tier, though that would depend on a full review. I took a sip of tea. What's the highest grade incident the Bureau has ever handled? The highest one I could find in the records was an S grade. We lost 18 attendants, 2 1st tier, 5 2nd tier, and the rest 3rd tier. Tell me more. It was a few decades back when the island nations on Myoji invaded. They deployed 5 upper rank and 20 mid rank on Myoji. We wiped out every last one of them, but our losses were devastating. The Bureau still hasn't recovered to this day. Elder Mu's faction was the main force in that fight. I sipped my tea and listened, quietly sizing up my own strength. If I used pills to replenish my mana and combined that with the Heavenly Punishment Thunder Fan, wiping out this whole group wouldn't be a problem. By that math, I was already way beyond level 1 retainer status. But this whole situation had really pissed me off. Honestly, I didn't give a damn what rank of retainer I was. My reasons for taking the position were simple. First, to repay them for saving me from that assassination, and second, to use missions as cover for hunting down energy-infused items. Now that they were pulling this crap, the title meant nothing to me. On this trip to the grasslands, I'd stumbled onto another way to track down energy items. From here on out, I could operate solo. No one would ever catch on. Head back to work. If anyone asks, tell them I've got no objections. Luo Tang drew in a deep breath. Why not put on a little demonstration? Show them what you can do. I smiled and shook my head, snapping open my folding fan and waving it lazily. This isn't some circus act. Besides, aren't all those underground creatures proof enough? Once is fine, twice is pushing it, 3 times is too much. Let's just call it done. Understood. I'll head back then. Go on. I finished another cup of tea, then headed downstairs to give Lu Tong and the others their gifts. Zhang Dan looked up eagerly. Was it fun out there? Pretty great. Endless grasslands as far as the eye could see. I even got to ride horses and herd sheep. I told them all about the trip, and the two of them listened with dreamy looks on their faces. I spent the whole day at home with them. The next day, I headed to the Xianyang guest house. Lulan lit up the moment she saw me. Zhengji, you're back. Got in yesterday. Here, brought you a souvenir. She took the delicate wool blanket with obvious delight. It's gorgeous. Then something occurred to her, and she lowered her voice. Zhengji, Manager Lung's been mad at you the past few days. Manager Qian came by and said you were the one who put her up to it. Watch yourself when you go in. I couldn't help laughing. All right, I'll go check on her. Lung Yuaning was sitting in her chair, lost in thought. Her eyes lit up when she saw me walk in. Then she remembered, and her face went cold again. Well, if it isn't the little vixen's advisor. What brings you to my humble corner? I locked the door behind me. Advisor? Come on. I just got back, brought you a gift. She crossed her arms. Don't try to sweet-talk me. That little vixen told me herself. Oh, you. Can't you see when someone's just trying to drive a wedge between us? Drive a wedge? She eyed me suspiciously. I almost burst out laughing but kept a straight face and nodded solemnly. Obviously, she sees how well you're running things here, so she came over to stir up trouble. Think about it. I treat you this well. Why on earth would I be giving her advice? Then I scooped her up and set her on the desk. If I catch you lying to me, you're going to be sorry. Seeing her raise those tiny fists so adorably, I laughed and kissed her. You're so pretty. There's no way I'd look twice at her. My hands went to work. Lung Yuaning wrapped her arms tightly around me. You jerk. You were gone for over half a month. You've got a lot to make up for today. I grinned wickedly. Just don't cry on me. Meanwhile, on the other side, Qianling burst out laughing after hearing her assistant Suizhu's report. Let's see if that Ice Queen beauty falls for it. Manager, Zheng Jiyi's got a silver tongue. He might just talk his way out of it. Knowing her, it won't be that easy for him to smooth things over. We'll find out when he comes in tomorrow. Leave it to you, manager. In the director's office at the Special Affairs Bureau, Fang Qixiao took a sip of tea. What did Retainer Qin have to say? He just asked about the raiding on the construction site incident, then said he understood. All right, that's that. Go get back to work. Mu Qing rode out to a village on the outskirts of the city and made his way to a farmhouse. A woman in the yard was feeding chickens. She gave him a nod and went back to her work. Mu Qing stepped inside and approached an old man seated on the earthen calm. Steward, something come up today? The new recruit at the bureau has some real ability. He used a folding fan to unleash an energy attack and took out over 100 mutated wolves in a single strike, plus an A-class giant white wolf. That white wolf looked like it had been demonized, chained down with 4 iron chains. Because it was restrained, I couldn't get a read on his actual strength. The old man considered for a moment. Sounds like he's using a Dharma treasure. Do you know who his master is? No idea. I gave him a D rating on this mission. He didn't say much when he found out. Stayed pretty calm. Find a chance to talk with him. You know what to do after that. Understood. I sat in Lung Yuaning's office eating lunch. That little vixen actually bought a shop right across the street, just to spite me. I found it funny. Just pretend she's not there. Your location's better. Your business will end up crushing hers. She got smug. Damn right. I'm not scared of her. Exactly. I stayed at the guest house until dusk before heading out. I rode my bike into an alley and vanished in the blink of an eye. When I reappeared, I was in the hidden chamber of a courtyard house. 10 large wooden crates stood sealed with paper strips. The moment I sensed what was inside, my eyes lit up. 500-year-old ginseng roots, packed in wooden boxes, perfectly preserved. 5 crates of precious herbs, bear gallbladder, bezoar, and the like. Of the remaining 5 crates, 2 held ancient books, 3 held gold bars. I stashed everything in my farm's storehouse. Of the 300-year-old ginseng I'd swiped from the Japs earlier, I'd used 1 and still had 2 left. Now I had 5 more on top of that. The other herbs were all useful too. I'd be able to refine another batch of top-grade healing pills soon. I headed back to the alley, riding around to see if I could pick up any other hidden chambers nearby. Outside the Tingzheng Pavilion on Antique Street, a middle-aged man was standing around. He came toward me as I pulled up on my bike. I recognized him as the liaison for Elder Mu, the third-class retainer. I stopped and looked at him. Retainer Qin, I'm Wang Zhou, Elder Mu's liaison. Something you need? Seeing that I wasn't inviting him in, he got straight to the point. Elder Mu would like to invite you to his residence. I'm here to show you the way. I sneered inwardly. They'd just finished trying to keep me down, and now they were sending someone to invite me over? Some nerve. I don't make a habit of associating with strangers. With that, I rode straight into the alley. Wang Zhou's face froze. He'd been with Mu Qing for years and had always been treated with respect wherever he went. This was the first time anyone had brushed him off like that. He climbed into the Jeep parked nearby and drove off. I set my bike aside and walked into the house. Boss, you're back. Dinner's ready. Great. I smiled and gave Xingji's cheek a playful pinch. Haven't seen you in a few days, and you've gotten even prettier. Oh, stop it. She responded with a shy little sound. I gave her another little pinch and walked into the house with a grin. Mu Qing sat at home, listening to what the liaison had to say. Got it. He rolled 2 walnuts in his hand, and they made a cracking sound. Clearly, he wasn't as calm as he appeared. Young people, huh? Full of themselves. He needs some seasoning. Wang Zhou asked, what do you have in mind, Elder Mu? That cave on the outskirts needs another cleanup. Tomorrow, arrange for him to assist me. Yes, sir. The next day, after breakfast, I took a stroll through the front garden, then headed back to the study, brewed some tea, and checked in through the mental link with the system. Ding, check-in successful. Congratulations, host. You have received spirit restoring pills times 10, mana times 1 wisp. I happily stashed the pills into my inventory. If it had just given me the recipe already, I could brew a whole batch and never have to worry about running out of mana. Ring, ring, ring. I picked up the phone. Who is it? Consultant Qin, it's me. There's a joint assignment on the outskirts. Elder Mu extended the invitation. Are you in? Not interested. Understood. Luo Tang answered crisply. I hung up and took a sip of tea. If he weren't a government official who'd handled plenty of matters, with an attitude like that, I would have sent him off to his next life a long time ago. Seeing that it was about time, I grabbed my bag and headed out. In the manager's office of Yuebin Restaurant, Qianling looked at me with a bright smile. Oh, why the long face? Why do you think? Yesterday Yuaning ripped into me and even called me your scheming little sidekick. Just wait till I get back at you. Qianling jumped up and bolted. Serves you right, for going to her place first instead of mine. I caught her in my arms. Heh, I'm gonna have you for lunch first. I scooped her up and carried her into the lounge. When Mu Qing heard I'd refused, he tapped his fingers on the desk, thought for a moment, and picked up the phone. Fang Qixiao was reviewing some documents when he answered. Fang Qixiao speaking. Xiao Fang, the new guy at the bureau has a real attitude problem. He can't just refuse assignments because of one performance review. Fang Qixiao knew immediately who he was talking about, and said with a smile, Elder Mu, our policy toward consultants has always been this way. It's not really something I can change. Little Qin has real ability. The place I'm heading to is perfect for him to cut his teeth. Young people need to learn to respect us old-timers, don't you think? You're right, Elder Mu. All I can do is try to have a word with him. All right then. Fang Qixiao hung up and thought it over, then dialed Luo Tang. Comrade Luo Tang, about Elder Mu's invitation for Consultant Qin to assist him. Give it another try. Letting emotions dictate your work is a big taboo. He's still young, with a long road ahead. It's in his interest to build good relationships with the other consultants. I'll give him a call. Good. Fang Qixiao hung up and sat there mulling it over. He'd read the report. Qin Zheng had taken out over 100 feral wolves, plus 1 giant white wolf. There was no question he had real strength. But just as Mu Qing had said, modern firearms could handle that too. It didn't really showcase his true abilities. Besides, The issue of managing the consultants was something he'd been wrestling with ever since the Special Affairs Bureau was spun off. If anyone could just refuse an assignment, what was the point of the agency even existing? He picked up the phone and dialed another number. Chief, there are some matters at the Bureau I'd like to run by you. Go ahead, over the phone is fine. I feel like our management of the consultants is too loose. Could we add some kind of hard requirement? Say, mandatory participation in at least 3 assignments per year? Assignments they weren't dispatched for wouldn't count. There was a moment of silence on the other end. Xiao Fong, the idea has merit, but that's bound to rub some people the wrong way. It'll make recruiting new members even harder down the line. Yes, I understand. But sometimes when it comes to organizing operations, it really does create problems. If you're going to require participation, there has to be matching incentives. You need to think all that through. Otherwise, how are the consultants who've always cooperated going to feel? Chief, could we release the points exchange list to the lower-ranked consultants? It might boost their motivation. Of course, the top-tier items would still be classified. That, we can do. Yes, sir. He'd just hung up when Luo Tang knocked and came in. Director, Consultant Qin isn't home. Fang Qixiao stood up, pulled out a document, sealed it in an envelope, and stamped it shut. Deliver this to Consultant Qin personally. Yes, sir. Luo Tang took it and left. Classified documents like this were above her clearance. I sat in a chair, smoking. You opened a place right across from Yuaning's. Are you going to be working out of there from now on? Yep. That space is bigger. It'll be ready in a bit, once renovations are done. Qianling looked at me with a grin. Don't worry, I've kept a back door open just for you. Nobody else will see it. I wouldn't be afraid to just walk in the front, either. In that case, I'll have the back door bricked up. I cleared my throat awkwardly. Better keep it. It's more convenient that way. Humph. I bet you're still thinking about that cold beauty. I'm not. Can't you tell how much I like you? Smooth talker. I spent the whole day with Qianling before heading home. When I saw Luo Tang's jeep, I parked and walked into the courtyard. Boss, Assistant Luo, is inside. Got it. Luo Tang stood up. Consultant Qin, the director asked me to deliver this to you. I took the envelope curiously. What is it? My clearance isn't high enough to know. I headed to the study, opened it, and read it carefully. So, points could be exchanged for goods. Processed mutant creature meat had all kinds of uses. Some cured illnesses, some replenished vital energy, some boosted strength. Prices varied based on effect, with the cheapest going for 50 points per pound. Weapons, everyday supplies, you name it, you could trade for it. At the bottom was a note. Higher tier information unlocks after reaching tier 3 consultant status. I stroked my chin. To ordinary people, this processed mutant meat was basically the equivalent of divine elixirs. The strength-boosting kind, with regular consumption, could add up to 100 pounds of raw strength. Sure, you need to eat a lot and build it up slowly, but 100 pounds was already off the charts. The medicinal kind couldn't cure terminal illness, but with regular consumption, it could keep conditions under control, letting the person live like anyone else. So there's even better stuff out there. This is because I turned down the assignment. Now they're dangling a little sweetener to lure me in. Luo Tang stood across from me. The director said building good relationships with the other consultants is important. My guess is Elder Mu called him. I put the document back in the envelope. Do I return this, or keep it here? You can keep it. I casually tossed it into the drawer below, actually stashing it into my inventory. The more this Elder Mu pushes for me to come, the less interested I am. Yesterday, he even sent a liaison over to invite me to dinner at his place. Guy really thinks he's someone important. I paused and asked, did he say when the mission's going down? Where exactly? No time given. The location is on the city outskirts. Got it. You can head back. Just let me know when there's a mission. Tell me where to be. As for participating in this one, forget it. Understood. I'll keep you posted. I nodded, watched her leave, then got up and headed upstairs. I cast Shadow Shift, gave my mana a push, and in the blink of an eye, I was at the place Luo Tang had mentioned. There was a military garrison here. A group of soldiers were doing PT out on the open ground. I walked through the barracks and saw tank barrels aimed at the mountain behind us, along with dugout trenches and sentries on watch. Once I got past the mountain, up ahead was a cave sealed shut by a massive steel gate. An image immediately popped into my head of what was behind it. 3 mutated creatures pacing around the entrance, occasionally slamming against the door. I walked straight through the gate and got a clear look at the 3 things, tigers the size of grown adults, with razor-sharp claws. The door itself was covered in claw marks. Mutant rat, remaining lifespan, 10 years. Mutant rat, remaining lifespan, 13 years. I headed deeper in. Rats were everywhere. Some were even gnawing on the corpses of their own kind, their lifespans varying wildly. The spirit detector started flashing, so I picked up the pace and pushed further in. The mutant rats got denser and denser, until at the very back, a creature bigger than an ox lay resting on the ground. Mutant Rat King. Remaining lifespan, 285 years. Huh. Looks like mutation gives them a serious lifespan boost. I circled around it and sensed a bead inside its belly. That was the energy source. With a flick of my mind, I sent the bead straight into my storage. The Rat King's eyes snapped open. It looked around warily, but found nothing. It let out a hideous screech from its throat, and countless rats came flooding in at once. Squeak, squeak. I watched the Rat King interrogating them like it was running a board meeting, chuckled, then turned around and walked out of the cave. Channeling my mana, I vanished. Those things in the cave, conventional weapons were plenty to wipe them out. Since Command hadn't given the kill order yet, they probably had other plans. Back home, Lutong and Zhang Dan saw me come downstairs. Zhang, come eat first. Sure, let's eat. I wasn't in any rush to hit the lottery draw. Smiling, I sat down for dinner. Not long after I left, though, the mutant rats in the cave went berserk, ramming the iron door like crazy. The garrison quickly reported it, and the Special Affairs Bureau showed up fast. Mu Qing stood with his hands behind his back. What's going on? There wasn't a peep before. Then all of a sudden, they started slamming the door. Well, if they can't wait, then we'll thin them out today. The specially reinforced iron gate slowly cracked open. Mutant rats the size of a man came charging out, and the tactical team opened up with suppressive fire. Mu Qing frowned. This really was out of the ordinary. Normally they'd cull one batch and be done with it. But today it just kept going, with even the smaller rats swarming out. Gunfire and grenade blasts drowned out the squealing. But suddenly, walls of earth rose up from the ground, blocking the bullets. Mu Qing's eyes narrowed. A mutant rat bigger than an ox came charging out, its eyes glinting with cold light. Thwip! An earth spike shot up from the ground and skewered a team member's foot clean through. Fall back. Sweat beaded on Mu Qing's forehead. He'd actually run into an A-class mutant creature. Call for backup. Bring in the artillery. Shells rained down on the rat swarm, killing large numbers of them. But the Rat King kept throwing up wall after wall of earth to block them, its eyes scanning for a chance to break out. Don't stop. Keep firing. Mu Qing shouted. Back at my place. I'd just finished eating when the phone rang. Who is it? Consecrated Qing, we've got a situation. The mutant creatures in the suburbs are rioting. Elder Mu is calling for backup. A lot of the consecrators are already on their way. I paused. My gut told me. It was probably me taking the energy source that pushed it over the edge. All right, come pick me up right now. I hung up and mentally sent the crows outside to go scout. Master, things are wild over there. Shells are dropping like they're free. Tons of rats already blown to bits. But there's one crazy strong one that can conjure earth walls out of nowhere to block everything. Both sides are locked in a stalemate right now. Hearing that no one had died, I relaxed. Have the other scouts keep me posted. I told Zhang Dan I was heading out for a bit, grabbed my folding fan, and walked out. The moment I hit the street, Luo Tang pulled up in his car. I got in. Situation's under control over there. We still haven't figured out what triggered the riot. If there's a nest like that, why not just wipe it out for good? Those things are cunning. When they can't win, they retreat deep into the tunnels. Eventually, we just sealed it up and clear it out periodically. I nodded. Without the energy source, those rats probably wouldn't be mutating anymore. A dozen or so minutes later, gunfire and explosions came into earshot. We entered the base, and a soldier took me to the front lines. Besides Mu Qing, there were 8 other consecrators, all middle-aged. I was the only young one there, and one of them was a woman in her 40s. Mu Qing, remaining lifespan, 72 years. Life form, remaining lifespan, 96 years. Looking at their lifespans, I started to put things together. Mu Qing was already in his 70s and still had another 72 years left. The others all had 40 or 50 years to go. People who carried energy clearly outlived pure martial arts consecrators by a wide margin. So it looks like special energy really does extend your lifespan. The only shame was that I still didn't know where this energy came from. If I could figure it out, wouldn't that mean I could extend my women's lifespans too? The moment I arrived, everyone noticed. I could feel the hostility rolling off Mu Qing, but I couldn't be bothered with him. In the distance, the Rat King had already retreated back behind the iron gate, leaving a field of rat corpses outside. Mu Qing spoke up. Consecrated Qing, you bear the main responsibility for this incident. You'll be the one to draw the Rat King out. We'll coordinate to take it down. I turned to look at him. These things going berserk, was that my doing? Mu Qing shook his head. Today I called you in to handle this with me, and you refused. That's why I got here late. If we'd moved sooner, this riot wouldn't have happened. I let out a cold laugh. Heh, good thing you're not a judge. With a brain like yours, we'd have wrongful convictions on every street corner. Young man, you need to learn too. Learn my ass. My face went cold. You washed up old geezer, really think you're something, don't you? Everyone around us froze. A few of them couldn't quite hide the smirks tugging at their mouths. but most were just shocked. A level 5 consecrator cursing out a level 3 consecrator? Was I trying to end my career? Mu Qing's face went from red to green. He was livid. I took a few steps forward. Piece of trash. Looking at the Rat King poking its head out, I flicked my fan open. A glowing energy sphere shot out. The Rat King didn't even have time to dodge. It took the hit dead on. Boom. A blast of white light exploded outward, engulfing every mutant rat in the vicinity. Everyone just stood there, stunned. Seeing that all the mutant rats were dead, I turned to leave. Instead of wasting time here, why don't you try doing something useful? Several consecrators stared at my back, their eyes full of shock. Mu Qing's face was ugly, his eyes filled with wariness. He hadn't expected me to be this powerful. I'd solved their headache with a casual flick of my wrist, and I hadn't shown him, a senior, even the slightest bit of respect. A little power, and he thinks he owns the place. If a guy like that rises up, where does that leave the rest of us? Meanwhile, over at the Special Affairs Bureau, Director Fang Qixiao's eyes lit up the moment he got the report. You're sure it was just a casual strike? Positive. Elder Mu tried to pin the blame on Consultant Qin and got chewed out for it. Then Qin just flicked his folding fan. One energy ball flew out and wiped out the Rat King along with every mutant rat in the place. Excellent. Fang Qixiao slammed his fist on the desk, thrilled. Finally, another powerhouse consultant had emerged. But his excitement didn't last long. A group of senior consultants was gathered in the room, all bristling with indignation. Fang Qixiao could only smile bitterly to himself. Perhaps there's been some misunderstanding. He's young, you know, just a bit blunt. Mu Qing scoffed. So Director Fang is going to shield him? Fine. Then I quit. In that case, there's no reason for us to stay either. One after another, they pulled out their credentials, ready to resign on the spot. Fang Qixiao swallowed his frustration. He still needed these people. If they all walked out, his job would only get harder. Elder Mu, don't be rash. Tell me, how would you like this resolved? A level 6 consultant spoke up. Someone this arrogant? I say demote him. Agreed. We'll let the expulsion slide since he handled the situation, but he should be knocked down to level 6. Fang Qixiao gave a wry smile. Gentlemen, Consultant Qin just resolved an A-class incident. Demoting instead of promoting him? That's practically driving a powerhouse out the door. If the higher-ups come asking, who's going to take the fall? Mu Qing stepped forward. This incident was C-class at best. The Rat King's energy was already spent, and it had been shot up by gunfire, nowhere near A-class. Right, I was there. The Rat King definitely retreated to its den because it had run out of energy. Fang Qixiao was about to speak when the phone rang. Let me take this. Xiao Fang, everyone gets old eventually. Young people who don't respect their elders need to be put in their place. Let's just call it a wash this time. Merit canceling out fault. Understood, Elder Wu. He hung up and sighed, turning to the group. All right, we'll go with Elder Mu's recommendation. C-class it is. Satisfied smiles spread across the room. Mu Qing, in particular, looked smug. So you've got a stubborn streak, huh? Then I'll hit you where it hurts, your credit. Let's see if you bow your head. If you swallow it, I'll keep pressing. If you don't, you quit and become a nobody. And I've got plenty of ways to deal with you then. Meanwhile, I was sitting in my study, taking out that bead. Ding, special energy detected. Absorb. Absorb. The wheel in my mind started spinning. I didn't wait long before calling stop. The pointer landed on the red zone. Ding, congratulations, host. You've drawn Spirit Realm's special race talent E-replicationed. My eyes lit up. A surge of energy poured into my mind. As if reshaping my brain, an understanding bloomed. Replication could only copy inanimate objects, form without function. The larger the object, the more mana it cost. I rubbed my chin. Form without function. So if I copied an object containing energy, only the appearance would replicate. The energy inside wouldn't transfer. Makes sense, I guess. The phone rang again. I called this late. I picked up the receiver. Consultant Qin, it's me. If you're still up, I've got something I'd like to come report. Come on over. I hung up. It was already 10 o'clock, and Luo Tang still wanted to make the trip. Must be urgent. Did today's situation take another weird turn? Lu Tong came in. Zheng, come to bed already. I pulled her into my arms. Luo Tang has something to discuss. I'll wait up for her. You two go ahead and sleep. All right, we'll head to bed then. She said something to Zhang Dan, and the two of them retired to their room. I took a sip of tea, not bothering to guess what Luo Tang wanted. I'd find out soon enough. I flipped open my folding fan and fanned myself. Big King heard the car pull up outside and ran over to open the door. Luo Tang laughed and patted the dog's head. Good boy, Big King. Woof, woof. She walked into the study. Elder Mu brought a whole group to the director's office and made a scene, even threatened to resign. In the end, the director agreed the Rat King's energy was already spent, so it couldn't be classified A-class. They rated it C. I lit a cigarette. They really should thank their lucky stars they're wrapped in the flag of the state. I took a deep drag. Where does the Special Affairs Bureau keep its spoils? Live specimens and corpses go to a classified RD lab. I don't know the location. Antiquities are taken back by the Archaeology Bureau, studied, then sent to museums. Everything else that doesn't fall into those two categories gets stored in an underground vault. Heavy security. I watched Luo Tang leave, took one last drag, and stubbed the cigarette out. You want to push me around? Then don't blame me for what comes next. Perfect timing too. I'd just gotten a practical new talent. It'd be a shame not to break it in. I activated Shadow Shift and vanished. Back at the Special Affairs Bureau, in the director's office, Fang Qixiao was chain-smoking, torn between anger and helplessness. He could already sense he was about to lose a powerhouse. The fact that I dared to curse Mu Qing to his face made it clear I wasn't the type to swallow insults. What capable person wants to grovel? Knock, knock, knock. Come in. His secretary pushed the door open. Director, 2 people from the Wu family are here. They're applying to join the Special Affairs Bureau. Their power assessments came in at B class, and they volunteered for level 5 consultant status, saying they'll cooperate unconditionally. Fang Qixiao's face lit up. Excellent. Meanwhile, I had already made it into the underground vault. Watching the blinking dots on the spirit detection meter, I followed its guidance to the energy-containing items, an unidentified animal's tooth, a broken sword, and a chessboard. 3 pieces in total. With a thought, I swept all 3 into my inventory, and 3 identical replicas materialized in their place out of thin air. Even if someone were standing right next to them, they'd never know they'd been swapped. I checked the device, no other energy items. I channeled my mana and disappeared. Next stop, the museum. This place was much bigger, housing hundreds of thousands of antiques and cultural relics. The moment I arrived, the spirit detection meter lit up. I followed the signal and found a jade pendant infused with energy. I copied it, leaving an identical one in its place. Just one? I figured there'd be more. I combed through the entire museum but didn't find a second. 4 items total, not bad. Back home, I sat in my study and looked over my new acquisitions. Ding, multiple energy sources detected. Absorbing them will unlock 1 targeted draw. Absorb. I paused. System, you mean I can combine them into a draw? Ding, correct. Absorbing 10 energy-containing items at once grants 1 targeted draw. Since the host has acquired multiple items at once for the first time, the reward is being previewed early. I stroked my chin. So I need 10 items to unlock a targeted draw. What exactly is a targeted draw? Ding, technology, cultivation, spirit artifacts. You can select a specific category based on your needs, and 1 item will be drawn at random from it. After hearing the system's explanation, everything clicked. I lit up a cigarette, took a deep drag, and started thinking about what I actually needed right now. Cultivation was out. There wasn't a shred of spiritual energy in this world, so even with a cultivation manual, I'd get nowhere. But spells, spirit artifacts, and innate abilities? Those 3 all look pretty solid. The Heavenly Punishment Thunder Fan already had me covered, more than enough firepower. I'd picked up a few spells too, so I was set there for now. As for innate abilities, I smoked, running through my options one by one. Using them one at a time is a waste. I've got 4 draws. Maybe if I save them up, I can score something better. Ding, forgo this opportunity. Future designated draws will require 10 energy-infused items. I thought about it for a second, then gave the order straight up. System, designated draw, teleportation ability. The 4 items vanished in an instant. The wheel in my sea of consciousness transformed, that ancient, weighty aura growing even stronger. I actually felt terrifyingly small in comparison. Without me even giving the command, the wheel started spinning on its own. Still 7 colored sections, but every reward was teleportation related. I was kind of pumped. The wheel slowly came to a stop, the pointer landing on the red zone. Ding, congratulations, host. You've drawn Advanced Cosmic Special Species Ability, Spatial Teleportation. My eyes lit up. A crystal suddenly appeared above my head, and before I could get a good look, it shot into my mind and hovered over my sea of consciousness, glowing softly. Understanding flooded in, spatial teleportation. I could place anchor points at locations I'd been to and instantly travel between them. Up to 9 anchors. Mana costs scaled with distance, and I could erase anchors anytime. With my current stamina and mana pool, as long as I anchored one at home, I could teleport back from over 500 kilometers away, though it'd completely drain me. I rubbed my chin. I had over 500 strands of mana right now, which worked out to roughly 1 strand per kilometer. Looks like from now on I should draw for mana recovery pills or the recipe. Then mana won't be a bottleneck anymore. With a flick of thought, a point of light appeared in my sea of consciousness. Instantly, I knew that was my study. Pretty handy. 8 more anchor slots to go. Just then, footsteps came from outside. Zhao Jia, one of the housekeepers, walked in. The girls took turns living at the house, rotating weekly. Today was her shift. Boss, I woke up and saw the light still on, so I came to check. I smiled and got up to walk over. Zhao Jia was in her mid-20s, with a great figure and looks to match. Right now, she was in a nightgown with her hair loose down her back. Quite the sight. Boss, I'm heading back to my room. You should get some rest too. I smiled and pulled her into my arms. Let's go back together. She nestled obediently against me. From there, everything took its natural course. The next day, I was sitting on the second floor of my shop with Ah Fu standing beside me. Boss, I can travel around and hunt down energy items for you. I can shift my form, so I guarantee no faction will ever detect me. I took a sip of tea and waved him off. No need. A lot of that stuff is in ancient tombs. If you go, you're bound to leave traces. Ah Fu smiled. Boss, watch this. The moment he finished speaking, his body dissolved into a puddle of silver liquid flowing across the floor. Whoa, you can do that. I honestly had no idea what androids were capable of. He reformed into human shape and explained with a grin. Boss, I'm a top-tier android. Only my class can pull this off. Tell me about the android tiers. I had a production line and could upgrade to advanced androids. If they could all do this, I was about to make a killing. Androids come in 4 tiers: basic, intermediate, advanced, and top tier. After I liquefy, even if just 1 drop of me remains, I can regenerate fully using energy, but it's costly. 1 full regeneration eats up 1/10 of my reserves. Without injuries, I can operate for 1,000 years. Can advanced androids do that? No. Their form is fixed once built, and they can't liquefy. I nodded, my mind made up. In that case, I'd have Ah Fu scour the country for items so I wouldn't have to run around myself. He wasn't as fast as me, but searching was time-consuming work anyway. Having someone to share the load was a win. All right. I looked at him. Travel around and search. Report in once a month. Don't worry about anything else. Just focus on finding what I need. Yes, sir. Ah Fu took the order, turned, and headed out. Over at the Special Affairs Bureau, Fang Qixiao stared at Luo Tang, a little surprised. Retainer Qin didn't say anything at all. That's right. Fang Qixiao mulled over. Just yesterday, he'd been certain Qin Zheng wouldn't swallow this insult, but the guy hadn't reacted at all. He couldn't get a read on him. Could it be he doesn't want to lose the position? He shook his head. Didn't seem likely. Qin Zheng had become logistics director at the steel plant at a young age and walked away without hesitation. When they first invited him to join the bureau, he turned them down flat. He only agreed in the end because of an assassination attempt. He felt he owed it to the people who'd protected him. He looked up at Luo Tang. Why do you think Retainer Qin is so calm about this? My take. He doesn't give a damn about the title or the credit. Fang Qixiao nodded in agreement. Exactly. Some people are still trying to pressure him and keep him down. Little do they know he doesn't care about any of that. He chuckled. All right, get back to work. Yes, sir. Meanwhile, Mu Qing was at home when he got the call from his liaison. He didn't say anything for a long moment. The guy was too calm. So calm it was like throwing a punch into a pile of cotton. Zero satisfaction. Fine. If you can take it, let's see just how long you can hold out. I moved all the shop's furniture into storage. With Ah Fu out hunting items, there was no reason to keep an eye on this place anymore. Heading downstairs, I found Lu Tong and Zhang Dan sitting there reading. They looked up and greeted me with smiles. Jingji, we're closing up shop. Pack your things, we're going home. Okay. Neither of them asked why. They tidied up their books and left through the back door. I stashed the furniture in my farm's storage, locked up, and headed out. Zhang Dan and the others were already waiting for me in the main hall. Jingji, what's going on? I sent Ah Fu out on an errand, so there's no point keeping the shop open. Reading books and enjoying the garden at home isn't half bad either. Oh, that's all it was. We thought something happened. We'll go read in the garden then. I gave Zhang Dan's cheek a light pinch. Go on.